Celestial Immortal Clan. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 401, An Unexpected Relationship. After these words came out, except for Chen Ziya, who was a little prepared, Lin Changqing and Hu Yana were also confused. Especially Hu Yana and Zhao Mingxia, they didn't know what Mount Jiufeng was talking about. They felt very confused. It was fine yesterday. How come today, it has escalated to the point where they need to ask the elders to come forward? At this time, Lin Changqing was also a little confused and couldn't help but said, "Didn't I make it clear to you yesterday? And didn't you and Yair already discuss it? Why do you want to disturb the great-grandmother now?" Hearing Lin Changqing's question, Mount Jiufeng himself was a little strange. He couldn't help but look at Chen Ziya and asked, "It's been a whole day, haven't you told him yet?" Chen Ziya sighed, shook her head and explained, "There has been no chance today. If there is anything, let's talk on the way. Don't let the great-grandmother and Muse Henren wait too long." So Chen Ziya and Hu Yana and Zhao Mingxia said goodbye and left them in the hotel. At this time, Lin Changqing also knew that he had to go to the great-grandmother, so he didn't say anything. Anyway, if there was anything, wait a minute and say it in front of the great-grandmother. So the two of them left the hotel with Mount Jiufeng and Muse Ioxio, led by Mount Jiufeng, and went directly to the south gate of the market. It seemed that they were going to leave the market. Sure enough, after a while, they left the market and went to the Chao in town guardhouse. On the way, Lin Changqing quietly asked Chen Ziya, "Yair, what's going on?" At this time, Chen Ziya explained, "Brother Qing. After talking with Mount Jiufeng last night, I learned that the Mu family and us still have some unexpected relationships. And Mount Jiufeng didn't agree with you last night, so there was today's meeting with the great-grandmother and Muse Henren." After listening to it, he realized that this was the case. He was about to ask her why she didn't tell him earlier, thinking that she didn't seem to have any chance to tell him today. Besides, even if he knew it in advance, what could he do? He still had to go on this trip again. Now that things have come to this point, they can only take one step at a time, but he still couldn't help asking, "What is their relationship with us?" Chen Ziya glanced at him and chuckled, "Is it a coincidence? Mu Qingrong, the seventh disciple of the great-grandmother, are you serious? Let's put it this way, Mu Qingrong, the uncle of the Mu family, should be the aunt of the Mu sisters, but they rarely meet. And Master Mu also has some friendship with the great-grandmother, so this happened today." Lin Changqing felt incredible when he heard it. He couldn't react. Isn't this a complete mess? Do the leaders of Qingyuan sect know about this? So he couldn't help but ask, hasn't the Mu family always been from the Xianyuan sect? And how could Senior Mu Qingrong travel thousands of miles to Qingyuan sect and worship the great-grandmother as his teacher? Chen Ziya thought for a while before explaining. The six sects of Qingyuan have both competition and cooperation, and there has never been a large-scale conflict. To a certain extent, the six sects can be regarded as of the same origin, so some young people with special talents can also worship other sects. But in order to prevent accidents, these disciples should never enter the core decision-making level of the sect. This should also be the tacit understanding of the sects. However, this is also good, that is, you can concentrate on practicing without thinking too much about other things. So Uncle Mu is the disciple with the highest cultivation under the great-grandmother, and his cultivation in the direction of the formation is also the top existence in Changsha Peak. Hearing this, Lin Changqing had a little understanding. It turned out that the relationship between the sects was not what he imagined. He also understood what the real situation was, that is, if there was no huge Xianyuan continent, the six sects would probably fight to the death for the limited resources in this small corner of Qingyuan. But after the establishment of Xianyuan continent, Qingyuan has become their rear base, so they all hope that the rear base can remain stable. In this way, they can free up their energy to focus on this small corner and go to the wider world of Xianyuan continent to obtain more resources. It is understandable that the younger generation of disciples join other sects. In fact, the relationship between the six sects can be summarized in one sentence, that is, limited cooperation, unity against the outside world. After thinking it through, Lin Changqing was relieved. He didn't want his great-grandmother to get into trouble for such a thing. After a while, the four people came to the gate of the garrison, and Senior Mu Qingrong was already waiting for them at the gate. After the four met, they greeted each other. "Hello, Second Ent. Hello, Second Ent. Hello, Uncle Master Mu. Hello, Senior Mu." Different names came from different people, but Mu Qingrong just said lightly, "Okay. No need to be polite, I'll take you in." After saying that, she also took a special look at Lin Changqing. She also knew Lin Changqing, but she didn't expect that he would be related to her own descendants. And the incident also alarmed the ancestor and the master, so she volunteered to come to the door to pick them up. After all, she knew both parties, so of course it was the most appropriate for her to come forward here. As for Lin Changqing, he was also unsure about alarming the great-grandmother and another real person because of this matter, but after all, he did save them at that time. Because although he was unsure in his heart, he was not afraid of anything. He couldn't save people and do good things, and then be punished. So he was still relatively calm now. The scale of this garrison was not small. Mu Qingrong took the four of them through several courtyards. Finally, they came to a living room in a courtyard, where the great-grandmother and a middle-aged male monk were sitting and drinking tea. When everyone came in, they all stepped forward and greeted respectfully. "Hello great-grandmother, hello Master Mu, hello great-grandmother, hello Master Mu, hello great-grandfather, hello Master Chen, hello great-grandfather, hello Master Chen." The great-grandmother glanced at Lin Changqing, and then said to them, "No need to be so polite, just find a seat and sit down." Lin Changqing and Chen Ziya consciously sat down below the great-grandmother, while Mu Jiufeng, Mu Xiaoxiao and the others sat below Master Mu, that is, opposite Lin Changqing and the others. Chapter 402, Great Freedom and True Self. Lin Changqing had already made up his mind at this time. He would not speak casually anyway, as he still had his great-grandmother in front of him. But just as he sat down, a huge pressure surged towards him from all directions. Lin Changqing was shocked and hurriedly tried his best to mobilize his consciousness to resist. Fortunately, after a while, this huge pressure disappeared, but at this time he was already sweating profusely. And Master Mu retracted the spiritual pressure on Lin Changqing, looked at him and nodded with a chuckle. Then he said, "The little guy is not bad. Just after the foundation building, the consciousness has reached the level of the middle stage of the foundation building. No wonder he was able to sweep the elite disciples and core disciples of the 6 sects in the key refining stage. Without any other means, he could kill his opponent 10 feet away by controlling ordinary magic weapons." At this time, although Lin Changqing had already scolded this little Master Mu in the great stage, he did not dare to have any disrespectful expression on his face. Moreover, when hearing this Master Mu speak, there is a very strange rhythm, which makes people feel good about him. And it even made Lin Changqing almost forgive him for the intimidation he just gave him. It was really terrifying. This influence was too obvious, which immediately made him alert and quickly gathered his mind. He directly gave him a look of eyes on the nose on the heart, and then united his mind and thoughts, and guarded the spiritual platform tightly, hoping to reduce his influence on himself. Then he dared to answer respectfully, "Master, you are too kind. I am just lucky to have a little bit of luck. Compared with the disciples of the sect, I am still far behind, so I dare not accept the praise from the senior." Seeing his look of facing a great enemy, Master Mu couldn't help laughing, and continued, All right. Your great-grandmother is still here. You don't have to be like this. I don't have any ill will towards you, otherwise I would have dealt with you just now. After all, you saved the younger generation of our Mu family, and I just tried to test your strength just now, so you don't have to be so nervous. Jiuan told me everything about you and Mu Xiaoxiao, and I already know the specific ins and outs. Now I just ask you, how do you want to settle Mu Xiaoxiao? When Lin Changqing heard that it was indeed for this matter, he said without hesitation, "Can we just pretend that this incident never happened? I didn't expect that saving people that time would cause me so much trouble. Moreover, I just became a Taoist couple with junior sister Chen not long ago, so I really can't keep junior sister Mu Xiaoxiao by my side. Please forgive me, senior." Hearing Lin Changqing say this, Mu Jiuan's face turned black, while Mu Xiaoxiao's face was a little pale, holding the armrest of the seat with her hand. And Master Mu looked at him seriously before speaking, "This is not a problem. Since you rescued her at that time, it proves that there is a fate between you and her. Don't deny it. If you let her die in front of you at that time, it proves that you have no relationship. Since you can't bear it and don't want her to die in front of you, then you have to admit that there is a fate between you, because the origin of all this lies in you. You saved her life, and she made a great oath. From then on, your fate is entangled and there is no way to separate. Think about it carefully. Do I think what I said makes sense? Lin Changqing never thought that Master Mu would have this statement. It really broadened his horizons, and there was a statement that he couldn't refute in a short time. His mind immediately started to work at high speed, but he couldn't find a way to deal with it, so he could only look at Chen Ziya and his great-grandmother for help. At this time, Master Mu continued, cultivate the truth, and get rid of the false and keep the true. Isn't the great freedom and true self what we cultivators pursue? Since all this is the choice of your own heart, what is there to escape from? Don't you dare to face your true inner wishes? Then what are you cultivating? Don't you dare to admit that you like Mu's Ioxiel now? Although my Mu family is small, these younger generations in my family are excellent in themselves, and they are all multi-talented. What don't you like? Lin Changqing began to sweat on his forehead. He really didn't expect this Master Mu to be so eloquent. He almost forced him to have no way out. And at this time, he couldn't keep silent any longer, otherwise his Tao heart would be unstable. So he couldn't help but admit it. What the Immortal said makes sense. When I saw her, I did have a good impression of her. I couldn't bear to see her die in front of me, so I saved her life. But when I was saving her, I didn't think so much, and I couldn't predict how things would develop later. At this time, Immortal Mu interrupted him and said, all right. No need to say so much. It's enough for you to admit that you have a good impression of her. Then follow your own inner wishes. Besides, we cultivators don't have a rule that we can only have one Taoist partner. So let's do this. Your great-grandmother is here today. Let's make the decision together and hand Mu's Ioxiel over to you. You can treat her as a Taoist partner or as a maid, it's up to you. After these words came out, Lin Changqing broke out in a cold sweat. Who would dare to treat his grandson as a maid in front of a giant and immortal? Isn't it an obvious trick to trick him? At this time, the great-grandmother could not help laughing and said, Brother Feng Hu is still so eloquent. Look at how you have let my junior down. If you scare him, I won't agree. Master Mu said with a smile, I didn't scare him. Just now, I said I was testing his strength. If he is a wimp, he doesn't even have the qualifications to talk to me. But I think this kid performed well, and he can barely be considered to be worthy of my attention. The great-grandmother listened and just smiled and continued, but it cannot be denied that what Brother Feng Hu said just now makes sense. Xiao Kinger has a good impression of her, and Brother Dao's Jr. has already sworn an oath to the heavens. It can be said that their fates are entangled together, and that problem is indeed not easy to solve. Yair. Do you have any opinion? Chen Ziya actually had some psychological preparation, since she knew that the Mu family had a close relationship with her last night. But she originally thought that all this would not break out until they returned from Zuanayan continent, but she did not expect that the ancestor of the Mu family would find the great-grandmother today. It was a bit unprepared for her, but now that the great-grandmother asked for her opinion, she was not going to deal with it vaguely. Chapter 403, Affectionate and Tired. Instead, he said very straightforwardly, since Brother Qing has said that he has a good impression of Xia Oxio Jr. sister, then let's do it according to Senior Mu's wishes. As soon as he finished speaking, Master Mu couldn't help but burst into laughter, and said to Chen Ziya with satisfaction, Good. As expected, you are worthy of being the disciple trained by your great-grandmother. You are sensible and responsible. I believe that you will be able to get along well with Mu's Ioxio in the future. This is my gift for you. After speaking, he took out a jade box from the storage bracelet, threw it gently, and the thing fell into Chen Ziya's hands. Chen Ziya was stunned for a moment and couldn't help looking at her great-grandmother. At this time, Lin Changqing didn't react at all. Things developed too fast, and he didn't have a chance to react at all. Almost as soon as Chen Ziya finished speaking, Master Mu immediately made a decision and even sent out the gift for meeting, just to create a fait accompli. Lin Changqing couldn't deny it at all. At this time, he really experienced the power of Master Mu. Seeing that the great-grandmother was here, Master Mu did not force it, but used soft traps on Lin Changqing. But even if he knew it was a soft trap, he could not struggle, and he was finally trapped by him. And Lin Changqing really didn't want more Taoist partners. He still understood the principle of being too affectionate and tired, and he still yearned for the great way in his heart. Otherwise, Su Miniang was also very good-looking, and she was obedient to him, and she had been in his hands for so long, so she should have been taken down by him long ago. But he didn't do that, because he already had so many family members and Taoist partners, and there would be children in the future, so he didn't want so many concerns. That's why he always rejected Musaoxeo, not just because the great-grandmother or the clan leader would object. It was really because he didn't want it. Because Musaoxeo really followed him, he couldn't bear to leave her alone, right? If Musaoxeo gave him children at that time, the concern would be even greater, which was also what he had been worried about. At this time, the great-grandmother nodded, chuckled and said, "No matter what, since Master Mu has given you all the things, there is no reason to take them back, just accept them with peace of mind." Chen Ziya agreed, and then respectfully thanked Master Mu. The great-grandmother continued to ask Lin Changqing, "Now that Ziya has agreed, what do you say, Ziya? What could he say at this time? Could he still resist?" So he could only helplessly say, "Please let the great-grandmother decide." Grandson has no objection. Hearing this, the great-grandmother nodded and said, "Then do it according to what Master Mu said just now. I know that you yearn for the great way in your heart and don't want to be bound by so many emotions. But sometimes there are things that you can't control. Now that things have come to this point, you must treat people well in the future. Don't have any prejudice against her because of what happened today. You must treat her well, just like you treat Ziya. You must treat her equally, understand? Otherwise, not only do I disagree, but Master Mu will not agree either. Do you understand this? Since the great-grandmother said this, the matter is settled and there will be no changes." Of course. At this time, he will not say anything angry or hurt Musaoxeo. And after all, Musaoxeo should live with him for a long time in the future, so the relationship between the three people should be improved. So Lin Changqing stood up and said seriously, "Grandson understands. Ziya is very good, and grandson likes her very much. It's just that I yearn for the great Dao in my heart, and I already have Yair, and I don't want to delay Ziya's junior sister, so I have been refusing. Now that the great-grandmother and Muse Henrin have made a decision, she will be my Taoist partner in the future. I will treat her like Yair, please rest assured." Great-grandmother and Muse Henrin, when hearing what Lin Changqing said, the great-grandmother nodded, but didn't say anything else, and Muse Henrin rolled his eyes at him. Then he said, "You kid is just taking advantage of me. I don't know how many people are pursuing my granddaughter in Zion sect, and now it's a bargain for you kid. I originally prepared a gift for you, but now I don't want to give it to you. Let's talk about it when I am satisfied." After listening to Lin Changqing, he felt that Muse Henrin really grasped the rhythm too well, and he almost made him depressed. And he really didn't care about Muse Henrin's gift, but now in this kind of occasion, he should still have the right attitude. So he quickly said, "I dare not. Changqing is already satisfied to have Ziya as a Taoist partner, and I dare not expect any more gifts from the real person. Okay. Okay. You cunning boy, you make it seem like I am reluctant to give it up. Then I will give this thing to Ziya, and let her decide when she is satisfied, and then give it to you." After that, he took out a jade box from the storage bracelet and handed it to Musaoxeo. At this time, the matter was finally determined, so Musaoxeo was relieved. Instead, she was extremely happy in her heart. After all, this result was much better than what she had expected at the beginning. Holding the jade box given by her great-grandfather in her hand, her face had already turned red with excitement. She secretly looked at Lin Changqing and had already made a decision in her heart. At this time, the great-grandmother continued to say, "Then the matter is settled, but Kinger and the others will board the ship tomorrow. Time is running out, so let's keep it simple. We cultivators don't have so many requirements, and we don't need so many worldly rituals. And Kinger and Ziya didn't hold the joint ceremony last time, so you two can just exchange the token now. When you come back from Zuanayan continent, if you want to make up for it, then the three of you can do it together." After hearing this, Musaoxeo hurriedly searched for it on her body. Lin Changqing said directly, "Ziya, don't bother. You have already given me the token before." After speaking, he took out the token that Musaoxeo had given him before, showed it to everyone, and then put it away solemnly. Musaoxeo's face became even redder this time, and he said, When Muse Henrin and Mu Jiuan saw the thing in Lin Changqing's hand, they had already recognized that it was a token with a Mu family mark, and they also knew what it was. Chapter 404, Outgoing Girls. Both of them couldn't help but look at Muse Ioxio, but fortunately they didn't say anything, otherwise Muse Ioxio's face would have definitely turned redder. Lin Changqing thought about it and took out a jade pendant from his body. This was a top-grade spiritual weapon. After it was refined, it was worn on the body. This spiritual weapon can instantly cast a 3-layer defense shield when it encounters a sudden attack or when it is needed. This spiritual weapon is also one of his trophies. Originally, he kept this spiritual weapon on his body for his own use, but he couldn't find a suitable thing as a token after thinking about it, so he could only choose this top-grade spiritual weapon. After walking in front of Muse Ioxio and putting the thing in her hand, he said, "The jade pendant I have worn since I was a child has been given to Yara as a token. This jade pendant is my trophy and also my own defensive spiritual weapon. Now I give it to you as a token. I hope it can continue to protect you on my behalf in the future." Muse Ioxio blushed and held the token given to her by Lin Changqing tightly, as if she was afraid that she would lose it if she let go. Then she said seriously, "Thank you, Senior Brother Gao. I will definitely make a sacrifice to it, let it protect me, and try not to worry you." After that, she handed the jade box that her great-grandfather had given her to Lin Changqing, and continued to say, "Senior Brother Gao, I am very satisfied now, so I will give you the gift from my great-grandfather now." Hearing her say this, the great-grandmother and Chen Ziya laughed, including Muse Ioxio's sister and second aunt Mu Qingrong. They all felt that Muse Ioxio handled this gift very well. Only Master Mu was present, and he felt depressed. At this time, he truly realized the saying that girls are extroverted, which made him depressed and didn't want to care about Lin Changqing and Muse Ioxio anymore. But at this time, the great-grandmother said, "Zio Kinger's surname is not Gao. The name Gaodishui is just his alias when he goes out. His real name is Lin Changqing. He is the most outstanding son of the Lin family in Jiufeng Mountain. You can call him the same as Zioya in the future. Don't call him Senior Brother Gao anymore." Hearing the name Gaodishui, everyone present, except Master Mu, couldn't help laughing. It was mainly because of this name. I don't know why, but I just wanted to laugh when I heard it. After laughing, Muse Ioxio said, "Thank you, Great-grandmother. From now on, I will call him Brother Qing just like Sister Ziya." Chen Ziya heard Muse Ioxio call her sister, so she also greeted with a smile, "Little sister, from now on, we are a real family. In the future, we will take care of each other and support each other. Another thing, don't worry, our family members and the elders of the family are very good. If you have the opportunity in the future, you will know it if you get in touch with them more." Seeing Chen Ziya's attitude towards her, Muse Ioxio pointed out the problem she was most worried about. In addition, she just helped push it, and she couldn't help but have a good impression of her. And she was very grateful to her in her heart, and decided to respect this sister in the future. Even if she suffered a little grievance in the future, she would accept it. So she said seriously, "Thank you, Sister Ziya. In the future, we will take care of each other and support each other. And will not make things difficult for you." At this time, Lin Changqing also spoke, "Since we are a family now, there are some things we need to say first. We don't have so many rules in our family. The most important things are only 3 points, which are to protect family members, respect elders, and live in harmony. These 3 points are the most important, and there is nothing else. You must remember these 3 points." Chen Ziya and Muse Ioxio both agreed seriously. They both understood what Lin Changqing meant, that is, he hoped that they would live in harmony. The other female cultivators present all laughed. Mu Qingrong even said, "How pitiful. Zio Kinger is still so young, but he is already worried about whether the two of them can get along well in the future. It's really too difficult for him." After that, everyone present laughed. Lin Changqing was a little embarrassed when Mu Qingrong pointed out his thoughts, but he thought it was really funny, so he couldn't help laughing with him. This time, even Master Mu laughed. The atmosphere on the field was much more harmonious now, not as tense as before. At this time, Mu Jiuyan said, "Brother Lin, Ioxio is now your Taoist partner. Have you thought about how to settle her?" Hearing this, Lin Changqing nodded and said, "My idea is to let Ioxio stay here first and not go there. After all, she hasn't established her foundation yet. With her current cultivation level, I am also worried about her going there. Moreover, After I go there and participate in the Jiazi trial, I will leave alone to venture out for a while. I don't plan to bring Yer with me at that time, so it doesn't make much sense for Xia Oxio to go there. It's better to stay here first. Practice in Xian'an sect or Jiufeng mountain with peace of mind, and wait for us to come back in 10 years. Do you think my arrangement is appropriate? Great-grandmother and Master Mu nodded, thinking that Lin Changqing's arrangement was quite reasonable. It was indeed inappropriate for Mu Xiaoxio to go there now. Others had almost the same idea, except that Mu Xiaoxio herself was unwilling to do so. After all, the two of them had just formed a Taoist partner today. But they would have to separate tomorrow, and the time was too short. Moreover, the separation would last for 10 years. She really didn't want to wait here for 10 years. So she couldn't help but say, Brother Qing, I still want to go there with you. Even if I can't go with you in the future, it's good for me to stay with Sister Ziyang. Just take me there, Lin Changqing said firmly. No. You have to bear it. For those of us who practice Taoism, 10 years is just a very short time. If you hold on, 10 years will pass quickly. I hope that when I come back to see you next time, you will be in the middle stage of foundation building, or even in the late stage of foundation building. You have to be obedient. This is my expectation for you. Only when our cultivation is high, we will have more time together in the future. Do you understand? Seeing that Lin Changqing firmly disagreed with her going there, and also expressed that he hoped that she would have a cultivation level above the middle stage of foundation building next time they met. Then she could only keep it in mind and decided to practice harder in the future, hoping to meet Lin Changqing's requirements. So Mu Xiaoxio nodded seriously and said, Okay. Brother Qing. I will definitely practice hard. And you and Sister Ziya should come back earlier. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 405, Battle. Lin Changqing and Chen Ziya both nodded. Since the matter had been resolved satisfactorily, Lin Changqing was ready to take them to say goodbye and leave. After all, since Mu Xiaoxio was now his Taoist partner, there were some things that he had to explain to her before he left Qinghai. It was getting late, so he was just about to say goodbye to the great-grandmother and leave. Unexpectedly, the great-grandmother said at this time, Since Brother Fenghu has prepared a gift for the two of us, I can't be without a little appreciation. These two sets of second-level arrays are for your protection. Let Ziya teach you how to use them later. Take them. After saying that, she took out 2 jade boxes from the storage bracelet and gently threw them into the hands of Mu Xiaoxio and Mu Jiuyan. Mu Xiaoxio and the others stood up quickly, and then respectfully thanked the great-grandmother. At this time, Lin Changqing also stood up, said goodbye to the elders present, and prepared to leave. After the 2 elders agreed, Mu Qingrong escorted the 4 of them out of the garrison. On the way back, Chen Ziya and Mu Xiaoxio were whispering in the back, while Lin Changqing and Mu Jiuyan were walking in front. The matter of his sister was finally resolved satisfactorily, and Mu Jiuyan's expression at this time was relatively relaxed and happy. That's why he said to Lin Changqing jokingly, Brother Lin. Now I shouldn't call you Brother Lin. Instead, I should call you third brother-in-law, and then you should call me second sister. How about you call me second sister now and let's hear it? Lin Changqing couldn't help laughing after hearing that, shook his head and said, That won't do. Third brother-in-law is too ugly, I think it's better for you to call me Brother Lin. If you want me to call you second sister, go ahead, as long as you beat me, I will immediately change my name to second sister. But if you can't beat me, then I can only call you Sister Mu, but don't call me third brother-in-law, it's really too ugly. Mu Jiuyan's eyes turned, and he continued, I have to beat you before you change your name. That's fine. But the premise is that you can't use the horn that can summon thunder. Otherwise, I will definitely have no chance at all, and I will most likely get hurt. Lin Changqing didn't expect that she would really dare to fight with him, but he was just talking about it just now, and he didn't expect Mu Jiuyan to take it seriously. So after thinking about it, he agreed that after getting on a boat, the two of them would find an opportunity to spar. The main reason was that he had always relied on the thunder horn or the purple crystal scorpion to deal with the enemy, and he himself rarely participated in fighting directly. After building the foundation this time, he didn't know how strong his body was. It was a rare opportunity to spar with the elite disciples of the Xianyin sect, which was also a very good choice. After a while, the 4 people entered the market and returned to the hotel, and then the 3 of them left Lin Changqing alone, and then the 3 of them went into the room next to Lin Changqing. He guessed that Chen Ziya should hurry up to teach the 2 sisters of the Mu family how to use the set of Chen Pan given by their great-grandmother. So he didn't think too much, and went back to the room by himself, and activated the restrictions and formations on the door. He entered that space directly. And he had to arrange some things before boarding the ship. Of course, the most important thing is to throw the high-quality spiritual stone ores harvested today into the deep pit and let Lin Changqing absorb and digest them. As soon as he entered the inner space, he rushed to the deep pit as soon as possible, and then poured the 4 raw stones harvested today into the deep pit. Then the deer came around, but they didn't dare to approach because they saw Lin Changqing standing on the edge of the deep pit. Lin Changqing hurriedly left the edge of the deep pit, stroked and soothed his little babies, and fed them with a nurturing spirit pill. This time, it is estimated that they will not be able to come in for a while. After all, there may be Yuanying cultivators guarding the Wanbao Pavilion's Yanhe giant ship. Therefore, he has decided that during this period of time on the ship, for the sake of safety, he will try not to come into the inner space. So he came in today to explain to Su Miniyang the working arrangements for the next period of time. Zhao Liao is still in the 100-day foundation building period, so he won't disturb her for now. He can just let Su Miniyang convey his instructions when the time comes. Seeing Su Miniyang coming over, he immediately sent the deer out to play, and waited for her to greet Lin Changqing. Lin Changqing immediately asked, "Miniyang, how much Hugo wine is left in the inner space?" "Bring it all out to me," Su Miniyang quickly replied. "Master, all this Hugo wine from last time has been taken away by you. Except for the little you rewarded us last time, there is no more. However, during this period of time, more than 300 hundred-year-old Hugos have been harvested and placed in the room. If the master needs it, wait a minute, I will start brewing Hugo wine immediately, and I will have the wine for you in about 7 days." When Lin Changqing heard this, he immediately shook his head. 7 days was too long, and it was too late. So he simply said, "No, there is no time. Bring out all the more than 300 Hugos to me." Su Miniyang agreed immediately, and then returned to the yard, took out 2 large jade boxes from the room where things were stored, and handed them to Lin Changqing. She said, "Master, there are 360 hundred-year-old Zhu fruits in it, please keep them." Lin Changqing nodded, opened it and took a look, and after finding no problems, he put them into the storage bag. Then he instructed Su Miniyang, "Starting tomorrow, I will have a relatively long period of time and will not be able to come to the inner space. So there are some things I want to tell you in advance. You should also convey it to Zhao Liao at that time. There are several aspects in total. The first one is that in the future, of the 100-year-old Zhu fruits you harvest, half of them should be kept and preserved, and the other half, you should brew them into Zhu fruit wine, and then seal and preserve them in the same way." "Yes, Master, I understand," Su Miniyang agreed quickly. He nodded and continued, "The second aspect is that the inner space will soon expand to thousands of acres of land, and you must find a way to make the best use of them. If that doesn't work, you can also spread some spiritual seeds or flower seeds on it, and let them grow freely without stimulating them. Although this will be many times slower, it is better than letting the land go to waste. You and Zhao Liao can make the arrangements for this." Chapter 406, Cloud Shadow Dance. Su Miniyang was about to agree, but Lin Changqing waved his hand to stop her. He continued, "The third aspect is the problem of your 2 people's cultivation. I hope you 2 will hurry up to practice. In the future, I will have more tasks for you to complete, so you must not fall behind in your cultivation. Don't let me be without manpower when I need people. I will give you the resources you need for cultivation later. Fourthly, I got some live fish eggs outside. I want to live in the inner space. Zhao Liao may be better at this, but she is still in the 100-day foundation building, so I will give the things to you first. When she comes out, you can give them to her on my behalf. When they hatch and are successfully cultivated, you will have more different sources of food, and you don't have to have spiritual rice and spiritual fruits every day, which is so monotonous. That's all for now. If there are any other problems, you two can discuss and deal with them first, or wait for me to come in next time and tell me. Su Mingyang heard Lin Changqing explain so much, and knew that the master should have something to do and would not come in again in a short time. So he quickly said, "Master, please rest assured. I have written down your instructions. I will pass them on to Zhao Linai when she comes out of retreat. And during your absence, we will definitely take good care of the inner space, so don't worry." Lin Changqing nodded after listening, and then took out the 2 strings of fish eggs harvested today and more than a dozen water-attributed spiritual medicines and handed them to Su Mingyang. In addition to the elixirs that were harvested during the last trip to Qinghai Mountains to improve the cultivation of the foundation building period, except for 1 or 2 bottles left for decoration, the rest were left to Su Mingyang and the others. After explaining to Su Mingyang, Lin Changqing went to the queen bee and got it a spiritual nourishing pill that turned into water. He also told it that it could increase the number of bee colonies appropriately according to the actual situation in the future. Anyway, he raised these little guys to help with pollination, and honey was something that he could do without. But in the future, when there is more honey, he doesn't mind trying it. After finishing all this, he went to the room in the yard, took a few boxes of green jade tea, and then he exited the inner space. There was no way he dared not stay here for too long. Chen Ziya and Mu Xiaoxiao would probably come to him later. So he couldn't dawdle in the inner space for too long, otherwise, when they came, no one would open the door for them, which would be embarrassing. Fortunately, after returning to the room, it was quiet inside and outside, knowing that they must not have come yet, so he felt relieved. In fact, so many things happened today, and he felt like a dream when he thought about it now. Suddenly, he had an extra Taoist partner, and he felt a little uncomfortable. And today he also discovered a very important thing, that is, since he met Master Mu, it seemed that many things were unconsciously led by him. He didn't know whether it was because Master Mu was so powerful or because of their Xianine sex skills, but no matter what it was enough to make him alert and fearful. So he thought about it, and all the means he had on him might only be that precious 4th-level soul magic weapon, the Yushin Soul Shield, which could defend him. Now that he has the power, he is barely able to sacrifice it. Find time to sacrifice it well, and then put it into the sea of consciousness. This Yushin Soul Shield is specially used to resist various spiritual attacks. When he sees Master Mu again in the future, his influence on him should not be so great. However, it is estimated that he will need a lot of time to sacrifice the 2nd-level soul refining magic weapon. Fortunately, on the ship, time should be the least lacking. And he is also considering whether to give the refining method of the Yushin Soul Shield to the great-grandmother, and ask her to come forward and find someone to help refine some. Even if a few are refined, the 3rd-level Yushin Soul Shield is also good, which can already resist the spiritual attack of the 4th-level Giant and Cultivator and the Soul Search and Control. But the main thing is that there are too few materials that can be used as the main refining materials for the Yushin Soul Shield, and I don't know if the great-grandmother or Master Ziyan can find such materials. So after weighing it in his mind, he decided to slow down this matter for the time being, and ask the great-grandmother to come forward when he really has no other way in the future. At this time, someone triggered the restriction on his door. He quickly got up and opened the door. Standing at his door was only Mu Xiaoxiao. She also changed into a set of clothes. This was a set of gauze-like, very gorgeous dance dress, with only some protection in a few key parts. But it was also vaguely more tempting. Lin Changqing looked at the beautiful woman with a slightly red face in front of him, and his lower dantian suddenly became hot. He quickly pulled her in. Fortunately, except for Lin Changqing, there were only female cultivators from the Xianine sect in this hotel. Otherwise, if Mu Xiaoxiao was dressed like this, he would suffer a great loss if others saw him. After forcing herself to calm down, she asked, "Xiaoxiao, why did you come here alone, and dressed like this?" When Mu Xiaoxiao saw Lin Changqing at this time, she suddenly relaxed and said with a smile, "Sister Ziya said that today is a good day for us to become Taoist couple, so she won't come. And she was afraid that you would settle the score with her, so she gave you to me today. As for why I am dressed like this, it's because I said before that I would dance for you. I have prepared this dance dress for you for several years. You finally put it on today, and I want you to always remember how I look today, and you will never forget it for the rest of your life." When Lin Changqing heard her say that she had prepared this dance dress a few years ago, and knew that she should have started preparing after coming out of the Ziyang secret realm. He was also very moved. So she began to praise him. "You are already very, very beautiful now. I believe I will never forget it in my life," Mu Xiaoxiao said with a smile. "That won't do. I must dance for you. After all, I have prepared it for a long time." After that, she took Lin Changqing's hand and pressed him on the chair. Then she stepped back a few steps, stood in front of Lin Changqing and looked at him. She said, "Brother Qing, this is the cloud shadow colorful dance I prepared for you. You must watch it carefully." After that, she twisted her seductive body and began to dance. The light gauze fluttered, and the light steps and soft figure complemented each other. The graceful figure was hazily displayed in the dance steps, with surging waves and jade legs, which made Lin Changqing's blood boil. He almost couldn't help but go up and throw her down. Fortunately, he still had the last bit of reason and forced himself to control himself not to move. Seeing him like this, Mu Xiaoxiao couldn't help but giggle, and then danced more attentively. Finally, he jumped directly into Lin Changqing's arms. Boom! Lin Changqing completely lost his mind and stopped suppressing himself. He held Mu Xiaoxiao and walked towards. Chapter 407, One Night of Pleasure. After more than an hour, the battle finally ended. Mu Xiaoxiao was so tired that she lay on Lin Changqing's chest and didn't want to move anymore. In a short while, she turned from a girl into a young woman. If she wasn't a cultivator, her body's endurance was stronger than that of ordinary people. She would definitely be defeated. And most importantly, she didn't want to spoil Lin Changqing's fun, so she endured it silently and finally persisted until the end. Because the battle was so intense, both of them had almost exhausted their physical strength. Now they were carefully savoring Shiyun, and both of them were silent. After a long time, both of them recovered some physical strength. Mu Xiaoxiao then said, "Brother Qing, how come you are so powerful? How come you are so different from what those senior sisters said?" Lin Changqing understood that Mu Xiaoxiao had suffered just now, so he explained with a smile, "This may have something to do with the fact that I have already started to practice body refining." Mu Xiaoxiao asked in surprise, "You actually also practiced body refining techniques? Will you become big and strong in the future?" Lin Changqing patted her smooth back and said with a smile, "Why? If I become big and strong, will you not like it?" Mu Xiaoxiao giggled and shook her head and laughed. "I like big and strong too. As long as it's you, I like it. No matter what you become." Lin Changqing chuckled, "I was just kidding you. My body refining technique is a more sophisticated internal refining method. It's not that kind of stupid external refining method, so I won't become big and strong in the future, and you won't fail to recognize me 10 years later, so don't worry about that." Mu Xiaoxiao heard this and chuckled again. "Nonsense, we have a contract. No matter how you change, I can let you out." Lin Changqing also knew that she would definitely recognize him, and he was just teasing her just now, but now there are indeed some things to discuss with her. So he continued, "What are your plans for the next 10 years? Do you want to stay in Xian'an sect or go back to Jiufeng Mountain?" Mu Xiaoxiao thought for a while before speaking. "I'd better stay in Xian'an sect first. If I go back to Jiufeng Mountain alone, I don't know anyone there, and there is no point in going there. It's better to stay in Xian'an sect first. There are many senior sisters and junior sisters I know, and I can keep each other company. When you come back, take me back to Jiufeng Mountain." Lin Changqing also felt that it made sense. After all, if he suddenly let her go to a place where she was unfamiliar with life and practice, he would definitely be very uncomfortable. So he didn't force it, and just followed Mu Xiaoxiao's own ideas. But at this time, Mu Xiaoxiao said again, "Although I am not thinking about going to Jiufeng Mountain now. But you have to leave me something that can prove our relationship. Maybe I will visit Jiufeng Mountain someday." Lin Changqing nodded and said, "Even if you don't say it, I will leave you something that can prove our relationship. And I have to leave you some special resources, otherwise, in 10 years, it is estimated that whether you can practice to the middle stage of foundation building is an unknown." Mu Xiaoxiao asked curiously, "What special resources? Why don't you keep them for yourself? I will do more tasks in the sect to earn resources for practice." Lin Changqing patted her a little harder, and then said, "Take the things I give you, don't refuse them casually. In the past 10 years, you must spend more energy on practice. You are not allowed to do too dangerous tasks. Wait for me to come back honestly, and I will ask you to dance the moon shadow colorful dance for me often in the future. Do you understand? Muxiao felt Lin Changqing's concern for her, and she was very happy in her heart. She nodded and said, I know. I'll listen to you. Lin Changqing then took his storage bag and took out 2 jade boxes from it. Inside were the 360 red fruits that Su Miniang had just given him. He handed them directly to Muxiao, and then took out a jade slip, stuck it on his forehead and began to write something inside. These were all messages for his family. As long as he took it to Jiufeng Mountain and showed it to Lin Changqing's family or the clan leader, they would naturally believe in the relationship between Muxiao and Lin Changqing. He said in it that the relevant people would understand the things they had experienced together. When Lin Changqing finished writing, Muxiao opened both jade boxes and read them. Seeing so many Zhu fruits, she couldn't help but say, Brother Qing, where did so many 100-year Zhu fruits come from? Why did you give them all to me? Keep some for yourself. Lin Changqing took out another jade box full of Zhu fruits and showed it to her, and then said, I have kept some for myself, and now I use Zhu fruits instead of elixirs to practice. So after you build your foundation, you can also use these Zhu fruits to practice. These things are my spoils of war, so you can use them with confidence. As long as the confidentiality work is done well and no one else knows, there should be no tail. I estimate that you should be able to refine a Zhu fruit in 7 or 8 days, but how to use it specifically is up to you, but in theory, these things should be enough for you to practice for 10 years. Muxiao nodded and put away the 2 jade boxes and the jade slip. When she moved, Lin Changqing saw the beautiful and attractive curves again. The lower Danshan couldn't help but get hot again, so he hugged Muxiao in his arms and whispered in her ear, Xiao, I see you're fine again. Today is our good day. Let's do it again. Muxiao rolled her eyes at him and then chuckled. Lin Changqing seemed to be invited and immediately. The next morning, Lin Changqing left the room refreshed. Last night, they had sex several times and the two had been tossing and turning until just now. In order not to spoil Lin Changqing's fun, Muxiao tried her best to meet his requirements and left him a very memorable night. Now she was completely exhausted and couldn't get up. When Lin Changqing left, he didn't call her and let her rest inside. Of course, this was also because he didn't want Muxiao to see him off, so he deliberately made her unable to get up. After all, Muxiao hasn't built her foundation yet. If this farewell is too sad, it will definitely have a very bad impact on her future foundation building. That's why Lin Changqing did this. Last night, Chen Ziya had asked Muxiao to tell him that everyone would meet in the hotel lobby. Chapter 408, The Sea Guarding Ship. When he arrived, Chen Ziya, Huyana and Zhao Mingxia were already waiting for him there. Chen Ziya looked at him with a smile, but before she could say anything, Huyana asked first, Senior Brother Gao, was there anything wrong last night? Zhao Mingxia also looked at him with concern, and it seemed that she also wanted to know what happened last night. But Lin Changqing didn't dare to let them know, so he could only explain, I'm sorry to have worried the 2 junior sisters. Now everything is fine, it was just a little misunderstanding with junior sister Mu that day, and the matter has been resolved satisfactorily. There will be no such thing again in the future, so you can rest assured. Hearing him say this, Huyana and Zhao Mingxia nodded, knowing that everything was fine, they didn't have to worry. Only Chen Ziya couldn't help laughing. Lin Changqing glared at her fiercely, and then she quickly restrained her expression. But Lin Changqing looked at her like she was still trying to hold back her laughter, but now this was not the place to talk. So Lin Changqing didn't bother her so much. After getting on the boat, there will be plenty of time to enforce the family rules for her. He has already decided in his heart that he will make her know the power of the family rules. Then the 4 of them left the hotel together. As for Mu Jiuan and Liu Yoling, of course they went with the people from Xian'an sect, and at this time, they would definitely not go with them, so there was no need to wait for them. Lin Changqing drove the flying boat and took the 3 of them directly out of the east gate of Chaoan Market. On the way, they also saw many foundation-building disciples from Qingyuan sect and Xian'an sect. Because everyone was on the same road, it was still quite safe along the way. Of course, there were no blind cultivators who dared to come and provoke them at this time, otherwise they would definitely bear the wrath of the 2 sects. After leaving the market, the total distance was only 40 or 50 miles, and it was not long before they approached Chaoan Pier. In fact, when they were about 10 miles away, They had already seen the target, a huge multi-layered treasure ship, standing in the waves. Because the treasure ship was so big, it was very eye-catching. Even if there were people who really didn't know where the pier was, they would not make the wrong choice when they saw such a big treasure ship. When the four people really arrived at the dock, they could really appreciate the hugeness of the treasure ship and the shock it brought to them. Lin Changqing roughly estimated that the length of the hull was about 1,000 feet, and the width was about 300 feet. There were also 5-story buildings on the deck. The whole treasure ship looked really huge and magnificent. When you get close to it, you will really feel your own insignificance. At this time, 2 groups of people had gathered on the dock, separated by hundreds of meters. One of them was the monks of Qingyuan sect, but the great-grandmother and others had not appeared yet. Lin Changqing and the other 4 found a place to wait quietly, watching the monks of the 2 sects come over one after another. More and more people gathered, and after waiting for a long time, when no one came, the giant and monks of the 2 sects appeared. But this time, the great-grandmother did not speak, and Shen Shenzhen said to all the disciples of Qingyuan sect, "Very good. Everyone is here on time. I believe everyone should have seen the huge ship behind me. That is this Hanhei ship of Wanbao Pavilion. We will take this huge ship later. But before going up, there is one thing to say. Many people may already know it, but I still want to formally say it again. This is about the Jiazi trial. The sect has decided, what Shen Shenzhen said, the great-grandmother and Lin Changqing had already said in advance, but this time they still listened carefully. This is not the time to show off, and last time he used the help of the little friend of Wanbao Pavilion, which can be regarded as a small trick of Chen Shenzhen. I don't know if he has remembered it in his heart, so now it's better to keep a low profile, so as not to attract his attention. After Chen Shenzhen finished speaking, everyone immediately talked about it. But at this time, the great-grandmother also said, all disciples should not discuss, whether to participate or not is up to you, no one is forcing you. And there is a Yuanying ancestor guarding this Hanhei ship, everyone should not make noise here. Now distribute the room's restricted jade cards, you find the corresponding room according to the number on the jade card. After speaking, hundreds of jade cards flew out from the great-grandmother's hand, and each cultivator present received a jade card. Lin Changqing looked at the jade card in Chen Ziya's hand and found that her number was connected with his. He looked at Yana and Zhao Mingxi's and found that the 4 of them were on the 3rd floor and their numbers were similar. He knew that it must be the great-grandmother who took care of them. After receiving the room's restricted jade cards, Wanbao Pavilion also released the restrictions at this time, so everyone began to board the ship consciously. The 4 also automatically joined the boarding team. In fact, Lin Changqing already understood the way Wanbao Pavilion did things. The room's restricted jade card in their hands was also the ticket for boarding this time. Without this thing, Wanbao Pavilion would not let you board the ship. Moreover, Lin Chang took a quick glance and found that most of the foundation building monks had rooms on the 2nd floor. Only a very small number of monks had jade cards in their hands, which were on the 3rd floor like them. They were probably either core disciples or had connections behind them. However, this did not have much to do with him. It was given to him by his great-grandmother, so he just took it and did not care so much. Soon it was their turn. After the guys from Wanbao Pavilion checked the forbidden jade cards, they went up to the 3rd floor. However, when passing the 1st floor, he took a look and found that the 1st floor was a huge hall, and it was not separated. He immediately understood what this was for, and looked at Chen Ziya, and both of them laughed. That's right, after the boat started, this place was probably for everyone to set up stalls. The 2 people smiled at each other because they thought of their previous experiences. They went directly to the 3rd floor and found that the overall layout was in the shape of a Chinese character, and the rooms were arranged in a relatively regular pattern. So they did not spend much effort and quickly found their corresponding rooms. Lin Changqing used the forbidden jade token to open his room first. He went in and felt that it was okay. The place was quite large. About 100 square meters. This environment was much better than the short-distance passenger ships before. At least the space was several times larger. Otherwise, for a long-distance trip like this, staying in a small space all the time would make even a cultivator with strong adaptability feel very uncomfortable. Chapter 409, Don't Make Things Difficult for Great-Grandmother. After looking around inside and having an idea in mind, he went to Chen Ziya next door and found that she was decorating the room with great interest. Seeing her like this, Lin Changqing decided to postpone the execution of the family law to the evening. After all, Hu Yunna and Zhao Mingxia would definitely come over later. It would be bad if they found out something by then, so he decided to be patient and deal with her severely in the evening. Sure enough, after a while, Hu Yunna and Zhao Mingxia came over, and the four of them sat down. As the host, Chen Ziya fiddled with the tea set and made green jade tea for everyone. Hu Yunna asked, "Senior brother Gao, what do you think of this Jiazi trial? Do you want to participate?" Lin Changqing didn't expect Hu Yunna to be so anxious. As soon as she sat down, she asked this question directly. However, he had already made up his mind, so there was nothing to hide, so he said, "I must participate in this Jiazi trial. So, I will definitely go out to participate in the hunt when the time comes. I will try my best to kill the monsters I encounter in the endless sea, and I must strive to get a place to participate in the Jiazi trial." What do the two junior sisters think? They are not thinking about participating in this trial, are they? Hu Yunna and Zhao Mingxia looked at each other and shook their heads. Then Hu Yunna said, "We both guess that you will definitely participate in this trial. After all, senior brother Lin's fighting skills are powerful. As for junior sister Zhao and I, we still have some self-knowledge. For cultivators like us who have just built our foundation and have ordinary fighting skills, if we enter the secret realm, there is a very high chance that we will not be able to get out, so this time we will not join in the fun." Zhao Mingxia also said, "Yes. We were lucky last time and met senior sister Chen and senior brother Lin, otherwise we would definitely not be able to get out. So this kind of secret realm is really not suitable for ordinary cultivators like us. Senior sister Hu and I should just practice honestly in the future." Lin Changqing couldn't help but nodded when he heard this. This time, the two of them were finally more sober. They didn't hear that he was going to participate in the trial, so they wanted to follow him in. Otherwise, when they entered, Lin Changqing couldn't take care of them, and it was estimated that they really couldn't get out. "Two junior sisters, I also feel that it is right for you not to go in this time. Just by hearing the description of Master Chenshin, I know that the competition in this secret realm must be very fierce. It is estimated that out of 10 people, it would be good if 3 can come out. Robbery and killing are inevitable. If you don't have strong means, you can't guarantee that you can get out of it. So it is right for you two not to go in. If you practice your immortal cultivation skills well, you can still earn enough cultivation resources. Steady cultivation is the most suitable way of cultivation for the two of you." The two nodded after hearing this, and Zhao Wangxia continued, "We think so too. If there is no special situation, we will no longer enter this kind of secret realm in the future. By the way, I have to tell everyone first, I will start my retreat tomorrow and prepare to complete the 100-day foundation building. This matter has been delayed for a long time, and it really can't be delayed any longer." After hearing her say this, everyone shared their experience of completing the 100-day foundation building with Zhao Mingxia, hoping that she could lay a good foundation. After about an hour, Lin Changqing keenly felt that the treasure ship they were riding on had begun to move. It was just because the treasure ship was so stable that other people could not feel it. It seemed that everyone was here. He knew that in addition to Kengayan, Xianayan, and the cultivators of the two sects, there must be VIPs of Wanbao Pavilion, but these had little to do with him. After chatting for a while, everyone went back and Lin Changqing returned to his room. Yesterday, he was delayed for a day because of various things, so he did not practice magic and thunder scriptures. Now he wants to take advantage of this moment when he has nothing to do to make up for yesterday's practice and try not to delay his own practice plan. He took out the Wunian jade mat from the storage bag, put it under his buttocks, and then began to practice. The navigation process of this treasure ship was still very stable, and it had no effect on practice, so before he knew it, a few hours had passed. After Lin Changqing had collected himself, he went to the next room. After triggering the ban, Chen Ziya came to open the door soon. Seeing Lin Changqing at the door, she knew that he must be here to settle accounts with her. She could only let Lin Changqing in, and then said with a smile, "Brother Qing, you are here, you worked hard last night." Lin Changqing was almost so angry that he wanted to laugh, and couldn't help but roll his eyes at her, and then he said, "What were you thinking at the time? Do you like it so much that you want to find yourself a sister?" Chen Ziya explained, "Ever since I knew the relationship between the Mu family and us, I knew that this must be the result, and the matter has alarmed Master Mu. It is better for us to bring it up ourselves, so that we don't have to embarrass the great-grandmother, and it is good for everyone." Otherwise, if you don't let go and annoy Master Mu, then in the end a good thing will definitely turn into a bad thing. That's why I took the initiative. Brother Qing, if you are angry, punish me. But why did I see that you seemed quite happy when you came out in the morning? Are you trying to have fun and misery? When Lin Changqing heard this, he couldn't help laughing. Is this right? It is normal for Chen Ziyi to say some weird words now that someone is helping her find a Taoist partner. Moreover, Chen Ziyi did that because she was considering her great-grandmother. After all, it had not been long since her granddaughter and Lin Changqing became Taoist partners, and such a thing happened. How could she speak? So at that time, she was in the position of the great-grandmother, and faced with a relationship with a new king wrong, it should be very difficult. Therefore, Lin Changqing could understand what Chen Ziyi said at that time. But she said that she would accept the punishment, so Lin Changqing would not be polite. Yes. I just find joy in suffering, so I must punish you, and I have to enforce the family rules, otherwise you dare to agree to it next time. Hearing that there was an addition, Chen Ziyi was also a little puzzled, so she couldn't help asking, what family rules? Why haven't I heard you say it? Lin Changqing ignored her, suddenly hugged Chen Ziyi, and went straight into the bedroom. And then there was a continuous and fierce battle. Chapter 410, See Encounter. This time he didn't use any of the techniques from the Yin-Yang Harmony Sutra, as that was too gentle and not suitable for his current mood. So he punished Chen Ziyi just like he did Mu Xiaoxiao last night. It wasn't until she surrendered several times that Lin Changqing returned to his room 2 or 3 hours later. The next morning, after completing his normal training tasks, he left the room and went to the deck outside. He found that there were already quite a few people here, including those from the Qingyuan sect and the Xianyuan sect, but the majority of them were foundation-building cultivators from the Qingyuan sect. It seemed that these people were all here to hunt monsters and prepare to snatch the 100 places for the Jiazi trial. He estimated that there might be fewer cultivators from the Xianyuan sect who were willing to participate in the Jiazi trial, so there would be fewer Xianyuan sect cultivators here. But this didn't matter to him much, so he just took a position that felt right and waited for the opportunity to come. Now their treasure ship had been sailing for a day and a night, and there was an endless sea all around. You can't see outside directly from the room, so he didn't know the speed of the treasure ship until he got on the deck. Such a big guy, the sailing speed is several times faster than his full-power sword, but he felt very stable in the room. It's really amazing. After a while, all the monks on the deck suddenly heard the voice of Chen Shanzhenren. Everyone pay attention, a large group of swordfish monsters have been found in front of the treasure ship. All monks who are not participating in the hunt, leave the deck immediately. Wait a minute, I will open the band to let the monsters in. After hearing Chen Shanzhenren say this, several people really left the deck, but Lin Changqing didn't care so much. Prepare several of his offensive and defensive spiritual tools first. Today he is going to use the 3 talents golden light sword. During this period of time, he and Chen Ziyi studied the 3 talents formation. Although he has only been a beginner for a short time, he can now control the basic running trajectory of the 3 talents formation to set up the formation. The power of this small, 3 talents sword formation is much more powerful than his previous straightforward sword attack method. Of course, this was also a little trick he chose to show. With his high-quality mana and 3 top-grade golden flying swords, he believed that he should be able to grab a spot. After applying a few more defensive talismans to himself, he fully opened his mind to prepare for the arrival of the monsters. Sure enough, after a while, he felt that the layer of restrictions surrounding the treasure ship disappeared, and the sea breeze with moisture blew directly on his face. But now he couldn't care so much, because the treasure ship did not adjust its direction and directly hit the swordfish school. As a result, many swordfish monsters ran onto the deck. So many monsters came up at once, and the whole deck became chaotic. The swordfish monsters that came up were both first and second levels. Lin Changqing specially selected the second-level swordfish at this time and involved them in the Sankei formation to kill them. And he himself did not stay in one position all the time, but after fully opening his mind, he kept moving around. In this situation, hundreds of foundation-building monks from 2 sects were fighting to kill these monsters, and the scene was really chaotic. Therefore, he had to keep an eye on the monsters around him, as well as the various spells and spiritual tools flying around. At this time, Lin Changqing had already reaped the rewards. He had just seen clearly that he had encircled 2 second-level swordfish into the sword formation, and unexpectedly, he had killed one swordfish directly. He was about to work harder to kill the other swordfish, but he didn't expect that another large wave of swordfish would rush up at this time. There happened to be 3 second-level and 5 first-level swordfish that rushed up to the position he was guarding. There were so many of them at once that he was a little caught off guard, but there was nothing he could do but try to encircle them all into the sword formation. Fortunately, after the swordfish got on the deck, they lost their momentum and speed advantages, so he just had to pay attention to the water swordsmanship they emitted. While Lin Changqing was also moving, he first killed all 5 first-level swordfish, but the remaining 4 second-level swordfish were quite smart and had a very good understanding. They actually knew how to cooperate and continuously fired large water swordsmanship at him, forcing him not to dare to stay in one place for a while. It was constantly moving at high speed. Fortunately, one of them had been injured by him just now. He planned to use this one as a breakthrough point first. He used his perfect fireball technique to the extreme, and a large string of fireballs flew out. At this time, fire attribute spells would do the most damage to them. So he immediately beat those second-level swordfish to run around to avoid the flames scattered after the fireball exploded. He seized the opportunity and finally cut the injured second-level swordfish into 3 pieces, making it deader than dead. It was much better to lose 1 second-level swordfish. He immediately used the same trick again and chose to attack the more marginal ones one by one. This was also asking for death. If the remaining 3 were close together and covered each other, he would not have been so easy to succeed. Now this one also died in Lin Changqing's hands. This time it was much easier with 2 swordfish left. He continued to send a large string of fireballs to separate the 2 swordfish, and chose one to kill directly. Unexpectedly, a person suddenly rushed out from the side and led the other swordfish that was blasted away by Lin Changqing, and killed it in 2 or 3 strokes. After Lin Changqing dealt with the swordfish, the man had already started to collect the spoils. Lin Changqing couldn't help but look at him. He was a middle-aged disciple of Qingyuan sect. He sensed that he should be in the late stage of foundation building. He saw that Lin Changqing had been looking at him, and he looked very proud, and laughed. "You're welcome, kid. I like to help people like you." Lin Changqing looked at him seriously. Relying on his higher cultivation, he was so shameless, and he even said that snatching other people's prey was so fresh and refined. It was the first time he saw it. Anyway, he remembered him in his heart, and only hoped that he could get a place in the Jiazi trial, so that he would have a chance to deal with him. Now the deck was full of disciples of Qingyuan sect, so there was no need to say harsh words. Just remember it in mind, and he didn't want to bother the great-grandmother with everything. At this time, no swordfish rushed up, and the battle was over, so Lin Changqing ignored him and began to deal with his spoils. In this battle, he killed 5 first-level and 4 second-level swordfish. First-level monsters don't have demon pills, so Lin Changqing put them directly into a large storage bag. He didn't think much of these first-level monsters. Chapter 411 Soul Shield enters the Sea of Consciousness. The main ones were 4 second-level swordfish. He found all their demon cores and put them in a jade box, and then collected some of their blood essence. There was also the long spike on their mouths. This thing was the natural material for refining water-based spiritual tools and flying swords. Although they were all second-level low-grade, it was estimated that each spike was worth at least 1,000 low-grade spiritual stones. In other words, Lin Changqing had earned more than 4,000 spiritual stones in such a short time. But he really didn't think much of these things. Ask Huyana if she wants them when he has time. If he needs them, just give them to her. After Lin Changqing sorted out his spoils, the battle on the deck was over. Everyone was collecting and sorting out their own spoils. Lin Changqing scanned the area with his spiritual sense and found that the situation was not bad this time. Only a few monks were injured. There was no death among the monks of the 2 sects. After everyone sorted out their spoils and cleaned the deck with magic, except for a few injured and leaving, the remaining monks on the scene once again occupied a position. They began to recover their mana and prepare for the next hunt. Through this hunt, it can be seen that these disciples of the 2 sects still have a lot of elites. It also made Lin Changqing restrain himself, because he killed several late-stage foundation-building monks, and his self-confidence was unconsciously surging. This made him better realize the gap between himself and the sect and the core disciples, and also more clearly realize his own shortcomings. Unconsciously, he stayed on the deck for 4 hours, encountered a total of 3 battles, and harvested 9 second-level low-grade and 2 second-level medium-grade demon pills. After handing over and registering these demon pills to a purple mansion monk designated by the Qingyuan sect, he returned to his room on the 3rd floor. He couldn't spend all his time hunting demons. His own cultivation, as well as magical spells and thunder scriptures, all needed to be cultivated. So he had already thought about it. In the future, he would take out 3 to 4 hours every day to hunt demon beasts, and the rest of the time would be arranged for various cultivation. Then he took some time out every day to take out the Yushin soul shield and refine it. After refining it for more than 10 days, he finally succeeded in refining the soul shield completely. He successfully put it into a sea of consciousness. He didn't know if it was his psychological effect. Since he put the soul shield into a sea of consciousness, he felt that his soul seemed to be much more stable, and he also felt a lot more at ease. The days passed one by one, and in the blink of an eye, more than 5 months had passed. The days on the treasure ship were monotonous and fulfilling. Fortunately, he had Chen Ziyai's company. He was able to adjust his body and mind frequently. Otherwise, he would have been hunting monsters for more than 5 months, and this kind of continuous killing would definitely have infected him with a lot of violent aura. Fortunately, Chen Ziyai was by his side to help him adjust, so having a Taoist partner was also very important. Moreover, during this period of time, Lin Changqing also made considerable progress in other aspects. His cultivation, under the luxurious practice of consuming a red fruit for a few days. It is estimated that in another 2 or 3 months, he can successfully advance to the 2nd level of foundation building. Moreover, in terms of thunder acupoints, he has completed the expansion of 12 acupoints, and the remaining 6 will also be fully expanded in about 3 months. In addition, Chen Ziyai would occasionally come out to accompany Lin Changqing to the deck to get some fresh air. By the way, the two of them teamed up to hunt a few monsters, but most of the time she was practicing in the room or deducing the formation. So during this period of time, she has made considerable progress in her cultivation and formation. Of course, the most important thing is the 36 second-level purple crystal scorpions that were newly hatched in the Spirit Beast bracelet. He has given them all to Chen Ziyai for running and training, and in the past few months, under his guidance and training, the 36 purple crystal scorpions have been able to understand very well that the orders issued by Chen Ziyai are not as accurate as those controlled by Lin Changqing with contracts. But now, including follow, stealth, attack, disperse, rendezvous, grouping and other commands, they can receive and execute them skillfully. It also achieved the purpose of allowing Chen Ziyai to initially control and command them. That is to say, by this time, Chen Ziyai also had the initial ability to protect herself, and it was no problem to deal with several late-stage foundation-building cultivators at the same time. Only in this way did Lin Changqing feel relieved to let her participate in the Jiazi trial, and if there were no special circumstances, these 36 little guys would always be kept by Chen Ziyai's side. They protected her safety on behalf of Lin Changqing, and he also placed some of the resources needed to cultivate these little guys with Chen Ziyai. In this way, in addition to the 36 second-level purple crystal scorpions in the early days, he also had 52 first-level ones. However, he felt that it should be enough for the time being. If necessary, he could also cultivate all the remaining purple crystal scorpions into second-level spiritual scorpions in a short period of time. Not doing so now is also to allow them to lay a better and stronger foundation, so that they have better growth space and potential. Because Huyana did not participate in the Jiazi trial, her rhythm was not as tight as Lin Changqing's, and she also took some time every day to go to Chen Ziyai for tea and chat. If Lin Changqing occasionally met him, he would also give her the materials that he had eaten and could be used for refining tools to practice. Of course, every time she refined a magical weapon or spiritual weapon, she would return it to Lin Changqing. So far, he has accumulated more than 30 magical weapons and 5 spiritual weapons in his storage bag. However, these 5 spiritual weapons are all second-level low-grade spiritual weapons with water as the main element. Anyway, Lin Changqing will definitely not look down on them, and will not let himself and Chen Ziyai use them. Because they all have better ones, they can only find an opportunity to get rid of them later. Since Zhao Mingshi completed the 100-day foundation building 2 months ago, her cultivation and work and rest schedule are similar to Huyana. In addition to cultivation, she occasionally refines pills. And the rest of the time she finds Huyana or Chen Ziyai to drink tea and chat. or the three of them go to the first floor of the treasure ship to visit the stalls, but I didn't hear that they had any big gains. Since Lin Changqing boarded the ship, he has been busy hunting monsters and practicing, and rarely has time to accompany them. However, the number and quality of the monster pills he hunted have kept his ranking around 60 or 70. The results he has achieved are neither good nor bad, mainly because he doesn't want to be too high profile. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 412, Supernatural Powers. He didn't want to compete for the first or second place, as long as he could get a place to participate in the Jiazi trial. Of course, this ranking was not public. He asked his great-grandmother every month or so. This was also a small backdoor for him. In the past few months, almost everyone among the hundreds of cultivators in the two sects had been injured, and even more than a dozen died. In total, there were 7 or 8 cultivators in each sect. Those cultivators who unfortunately died and fell were all when they encountered a super large group of monsters. That was the most chaotic time and the time when problems were most likely to occur. The ones who provided shelter to them were several Purple Mansion cultivators from the two sects. Although the monsters they encountered were definitely selected by the sects, as long as the monsters increased, several Purple Mansion cultivators could not guarantee the safety of everyone, so more than a dozen cultivators died unfortunately. The 2 or 3 injuries that Lin Changqing suffered were all caused in this situation. Fortunately, he was very smart and slippery, so he only suffered minor skin injuries. Basically, he only needed to rest for a day or two, and it would not delay him from continuing to hunt monsters. Of course, the main reason is that on this treasure ship, he has many methods that are inconvenient to use, otherwise he would not be so embarrassed. But this journey and the hunting experience of these few months are indeed very valuable experiences for him. At least his ability to deal with monsters now is much stronger than a few months ago. But fortunately, the journey is almost over, and the ranking should not change much. The last time I met my great-grandmother, I had already received her advice. As for the real person Chenshin, who he has been worried about, he did not have too many intersections with him. Except for occasionally hearing his voice transmission to everyone on the deck, he has never seen his real person again, and he doesn't know what the situation is. After just experiencing a not too fierce battle, Lin Changqing is now sorting out his spoils on the deck. Collect all the useful materials, and of course the remaining flesh and blood are not let go, all of which can be left to feed his spirit pets. However, at this time, all the cultivators on the deck heard the voice of Chen Shan's Henren. Attention, all disciples, this qualification trial is over. Everyone hand in the demon pills in your hands and register them. When we dock tomorrow, the top 100 disciples will be announced. At that time, they will naturally obtain the qualification to participate in the Jiazi trial. Now everyone stops hunting, goes back to rest and recuperate, and tomorrow we will officially arrive at Zuanayan continent. Hearing the news that Chen Shan's Henren announced the end of the trial, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. After all, not everyone can stand the killing for more than 5 months in a row. After Lin Changqing went up to hand in the demon pills he harvested today, he returned to Chen Ziya's room on the 3rd floor. Unexpectedly, the 3 of them were just gathering together. When Lin Changqing arrived, they were drinking tea and chatting. After he sat down and drank 2 cups of spiritual tea, Hu Yan asked, "Senior Brother Gao, the trial is over, it should be no problem for you to get a place, right?" Lin Changqing breathed a sigh of relief and said, "I guess it shouldn't be a problem. In fact, in the later stages, many cultivators have voluntarily withdrawn from the trial. In addition, I feel that my own results should be pretty good, so I should have an 80 to 90% chance of getting a place." Hearing him say this, the 3 people present nodded and were happy for him. Congratulations came out one after another. After a while, Huyana spoke again. "Tomorrow we should arrive at a place called Linian City. There is a Linian port, where we will dock and land. I heard from my master that the Linian City is very magnificent and huge. Moreover, it is estimated that we should rest there for 2 or 3 days. At that time, the 4 of us will go to Linian City together to take a look. See what is different from our side." Zhao Mingxia also said, "Since 2 or 3 days ago, I began to encounter other treasure ships of various sizes, and I knew that we must be arriving soon. I really look forward to it. I don't know what the Zuanayan continent is like, and it is still very far from the sex station. I heard that even if we take the treasure ship of Yongshi's Henrun, it will take at least 1 or 2 months to reach the sex station here. The continent here is really too huge, and I don't know if there are any footprints that can cover the entire continent, Lin Changqing said with a smile. If we want to travel the entire continent, with our cultivation, we are still a little short, so we should stay in the sex station to practice in the future. When you have reached the level of Yuanying, you will be able to go to most places. And you will have plenty of time to travel around. Zhao Mingxia said a little bit unconvinced. Then according to what senior brother Lin said, with our cultivation level, we can't go anywhere. That's not the case. At least places that are closer should be fine, just like the Linitan city we are going to tomorrow. Hearing his quibbling, everyone laughed, and several people understood what he meant. That is, they hoped that they would practice with peace of mind and not run around. Lin Changqing handed over some of the refining materials accumulated during this period to Huyana. Huyana had experienced this kind of thing several times, so she was no longer polite to him. Anyway, she returned all the magic tools and spiritual tools she refined to Lin Changqing, whether they were good or bad, and she also had to add some auxiliary materials. Then Lin Changqing drank a few more cups of spiritual tea, said goodbye and left, and went back to his room first. Although he was going to arrive at Zuanayan continent tomorrow, he would not stop his practice casually unless there was something special. In fact, he really wanted to go into the inner space and take a look. After all, he hadn't been in there for more than 5 months, and he didn't know what was going on inside. But now he was still on the treasure ship of Wanbao Pavilion, and he really didn't dare to act rashly. You know, there were 2 Yuanying ancestors on the ship. He had seen the 2 ancestors take action many times along the way, and the power was simply overwhelming. The aftermath of the fight was even worse than a natural disaster. If it weren't for the protection of this Henhei giant ship, they would have become food for the monsters in the endless sea. With 2 powerful Yuanying ancestors around, he really didn't dare to take risks, so he had to endure it a little longer. After arriving in Linitan City, he would find a chance to go into the inner space and take a look. Chapter 413, Life and Death Stage. I also don't know what's going on in Linitan City. Can I find a bargain in the street stalls over there? And the scale of the gambling stone shop here should be even bigger. I hope I can bring some surprises to myself at that time. He shook his head and restrained his divergent thinking. He took out the Wunian jade mat from the storage bag and began to practice. The next morning, after completing the basic practice of the 5 Elements Chaos Sutra and packing up everything, he went to meet up with Chen Ziya and the others. Now the place where they meet is basically in Chen Ziya's room, but today they have no intention of staying in the room. So the 4 of them came to the deck together to enjoy the magnificent scenery of the endless sea. Because there is no need to hunt monsters today, there are very few monks on the deck. Of course, the main reason is that no matter how spectacular the scenery is, anyone will get tired of it after watching it for a few months. At the beginning, there were people coming to the deck every day to appreciate and feel the waves and grandeur of the endless sea. The 4 of them occupied the best position at the bow, watching the turbulent sea water being divided into 2 by the huge bow. If viewed from the air, it looked like a giant pair of scissors, cutting the deep blue sea. Before long, more and more monks from the 2 sects came to the deck. Of course, most of them were female monks from the Xianayan sect at this time. Mu Jiuan and Lu Yuling also came over. They also participated in the trial to compete for the quota. They often covered each other with Lin Changqing, and they had some tacit understanding with each other. However, they had not yet carried out the exchange that they had agreed to, and there was no need to do so. The 2 had cooperated before and had seen each other's methods. They had a rough idea of each other's strengths and weaknesses in their hearts, so Mu Jiuan still called him senior brother Lin. After greeting Lin Changqing, the 5 female monks became friends, and about 1, 2 or 3 hours later, in front of everyone, a hazy black shadow appeared, and Lin Changqing knew that they had finally arrived. Many monks around couldn't help but cheer. After a while, the treasure ship finally approached a very large port. There were thousands of ships of different sizes docked in an orderly manner around the port. However, no ship could be compared with his Henhei ship. The most common ones were spirit ships of 50 or 60 feet long. And as far as the eye could see, the largest spirit ship was about 300 feet long, which was only a fraction of this Henhei ship. It was also true that it was not easy to find a keel that was more than 1,000 feet long and suitable for use as a keel. So, counting all the ships encountered in the endless sea during this period, none of them was as big as the treasure ship they were on. No wonder it was called the Zhenhe ship. At this time, the Zhenhe ship had already approached a huge berth directly, and soon this huge guy stopped moving. At this time, the voice of Chen Shanzhen sounded again in the ears of all Qingyun sect disciples. All Qingyun sect disciples should hand over the forbidden jade cards in their hands to the people of Wanbao Pavilion before leaving the ship. Then gather at an open area at the dock. After everything is explained, everyone will set off for Linian City together. Hearing Chen Shanzhen say this, the disciples of the two sects rushed to the side of the ship, handed over the forbidden jade cards, and flew to the dock to wait. However, Lin Changqing and his men did not fight with them, but waited until there were no people around before handing over the forbidden jade cards and leaving the treasure ship. After a while, the Jindan Zhenren from the two sects came out. On the Qingyun sect side, it was Zhenren Chenshin who spoke up. I want to explain 3 things. The first thing is that the ranking of hunting demon pills has been counted. The result of the 100th place is 870 second grade lower grade and 35 second grade middle grade demon pills. Those who have better results than this are the cultivators who have obtained the quota for the Jiazi trial. Now stand on my left-hand side, and I will issue you the certificate to participate in the trial. As soon as he finished speaking, some disciples of the Qingyun sect sighed in disappointment. These people should be the cultivators who participated in the hunt but did not grab the quota. However, there were also some people who quickly stood on the left, of course, including Lin Changqing. Zhenren Chenshin glanced at them, and 100 jade cards flew out with a flip of his hand. Lin Changqing took it and looked at it. The jade card was warm and crystal clear, and it was actually a second-grade upper-grade defensive spiritual weapon, and there were words on both sides. The front was engraved with the 3 characters Qingyun sect and the sect's seal, and the back was a white lotus with the 2 characters Jiazi engraved in the middle. After everyone had seen the jade token, Chen Shanzhen continued to speak. The jade token in your hands is also a second-level top-grade defensive spiritual weapon. It is a gift from Ziyan Zhenren. I hope that all of you disciples who came out of Qingyun Corner can come out of the secret realm smoothly. After hearing this, everyone thanked Ziyan Zhenren. But she just waved her hand and didn't say anything. At this time, Chen Shanzhen continued, the second thing is that we will stay in Linian City for 3 days, and you will solve the problem of accommodation by yourselves. But everyone is here for the first time in Linian City, and this is not our territory. Don't make trouble for me, otherwise we may not be able to protect you. Do you know why this place is called Linian City? Linian City means near the abyss. Because the monks here need to go out to sea frequently to hunt monsters and earn cultivation resources. They are not like you, who have us to help check and select suitable monsters for you for your trial hunting. All the monsters they encounter are completely based on luck. It is normal to feed the monsters of the 3rd or 4th order if they are unfortunate. Therefore, every time they go out to sea to hunt monsters, they are facing life and death, just like being near the abyss. So this place is called Linian City. Of course, taking this name is also a warning to all monks who go out to sea to hunt monsters. Now you know how tough the monks in this place are, right? There is also a life and death platform here. If the monks have grievances, they can solve them on it, that is, a fight to the death. Don't let anyone provoke you into going on the life and death stage. That's simply courting death, and if you die on it, we won't be able to help you get revenge. So when you're here, try to stay together in groups, and don't run around alone. Then at noon the day after tomorrow, everyone will meet 10 miles outside the south gate of Linian City, and then set off together to return to the sect's headquarters here. Don't be late, otherwise we won't wait for you, and you will find a way to get back to the sect's headquarters by yourself. Chapter 414, There are both joys and disadvantages. The third thing is, we didn't take away the demon pills you handed over. We will hand them over to the sect and convert them into contribution points for you. If you need anything, you can go to the General Affairs Hall of the sect to exchange them. You all understand this, so I don't need to say anything more. As soon as Chen Shanzhen's voice fell, all the disciples of the second Qingyun sect were boiling. Especially those cultivators who felt that they would definitely not be able to grab a place, and did not go out to participate in the monster hunting. Missing such a good opportunity, of course there will be no sect contribution points. They feel that they have suffered a huge loss. Even if the last 100th place is calculated at a 2-to-1 ratio for all the demon pills, there will be at least 50,000 sect contribution points. And Qingyuan sect only needs 100,000 tribute points for a purple mansion Twangsuan pill, which is equivalent to half a purple mansion Twangsuan pill. As long as you continue to work hard to accumulate sect contribution points, after getting 100,000, you will have the opportunity to impact the purple mansion period. This makes those cultivators who have never participated in hunting from the beginning envious. But there is no way. This is how cultivation works. If you are one step ahead, you will be ahead step by step in the future. If you don't work hard, it is possible that your junior brother today will become your uncle after the promotion. At this time, Lin Changqing was also thinking about how to deal with the demon pills he handed in. Because he was not a disciple of Qingyuan sect, there is no way to use the contribution points of Qingyuan sect, but he will definitely not ask it now. After all, he still needs the great-grandmother. So he is not particularly worried. At this time, the great-grandmother just spoke. Okay. Everyone stop arguing. The opportunity is missed. It is missed. Next time, learn to be smarter and strive for it. Now everyone should stop crowding here, and all of you should set off for Lin City. After the great-grandmother finished speaking, everyone dared not say anything else, and then all flew to Lin City. Lin Changqing was still the same, releasing the spiritual weapon flying boat, carrying Chen Ziya and the other three, and flew with a large group. At this time, Zhao Mingxia said, Brother Lin. This time we have to go faster. Don't be like last time, and you can't find a place to stay in the market. Hearing her say this, everyone laughed. And Huyana said, this Lin City is different from the Chaoan City market, we should not be too nervous about the accommodation problem. Lin Changqing was also a little surprised after hearing this, and could not help but ask, it seems that junior sister who knows something, tell us about it. Seeing that it was Lin Changqing who wanted to know, Huyana did not keep him in suspense, and said directly, I also heard about it from my grandmaster. She said that this Lin City is quite special. There are relatively few mortals in it, and basically they are all cultivators. Unlike other cities, which are mostly ordinary mortals, and then a suitable place is enclosed to build a market for cultivators to practice and live. The entire Lin City here is basically full of cultivators, so there is no market, and there must be more hotels and caves for cultivators to live in than in other places. So I don't think we should worry too much about accommodation these days. After hearing her say this, everyone felt that it made sense, and no one said anything else. After flying about 70 or 80 miles, Lin Changqing finally saw Black City with a very large area. It was really big. He couldn't estimate the size of Lin City specifically, because he couldn't see it all. Just the city wall alone was estimated to be hundreds of feet high. And on the Black City wall, there would occasionally be some light flashing. He guessed that the city wall was either blessed with a magic circle or runes, or it was built with special materials. Anyway, it looked like a strong city. At this time, they stood at the entrance of the city gate, waiting to apply for entry and exit permits. So they had time to look at these city walls carefully, looking up, giving people a very heavy and solid feeling. Soon it was their turn, but in this place, the cultivators in the foundation building period did not have any preferential treatment. They issued an entry and exit permit and collected 10 low-grade spirit stones from each of them. The charging level here is obviously much higher than that of Qingyuan. He felt it necessary to spend some time to get a general understanding of the prices and consumption levels here. In order to avoid any misunderstanding, he told everyone about this suggestion, and everyone agreed. So after entering Lin City, they did not rush to find a hotel, but went into the appropriate shops on the street to learn more. After more than 2 hours, everyone finally had a general understanding of the price level here. The result was that there were both good and bad things. The prices on both sides were actually 2 or 3 times different. Moreover, the various spiritual objects and resources here were indeed much richer than those in Qingyuan. Lin Changqing felt that if Qingyuan was compared with here, it would be like a county town in a city. He knew that he had come to the right place this time. To give a simple example, in Qingyuan, a foundation building pill costs about 50,000 spirit stones, and it is not always available. Instead, you have to wait until the auction to have a chance to get it, while here you only need 20,000 spirit stones to buy it in some larger shops. On the street where they were walking, Lin Changqing asked 2 stores that sold foundation building pills. There was even one store that actually sold Zifu Twangsuan. And the price was not too expensive. You only needed 200,000 low-grade spirit stones to buy one. This really opened his eyes, and also let him know that at least he had solved the problem of Zifu Tangxuandan needed by his family to advance to Zifu. This was very good news for him. Of course, it was logical that he would focus on spiritual objects related to dam formation in the future. But with good news, there was bad news, that is, many prices here were much higher than those in Qinghai. For example, the Julingdan used for cultivation in the early stage of foundation building was about twice as expensive as that in Qinghai. A second-level low-grade ordinary spirit weapon flying sword cost about 2,000 low-grade spirit stones in Qinghai, while here it cost more than 3,000, and it also depended on the specific quality. This made him immediately think that if he brought his clansmen here, then their usual cultivation expenses would undoubtedly double. Which was not a good thing for the family. It can even be said that ordinary clansmen who have not built their foundation are not suitable for this place at all, and they have no ability to survive here. Chapter 415, Black Armored Army Guard in the City. No wonder the 6 Qinghai sects have stipulated that disciples must wait until they have built their foundation and can almost support themselves before they can come here. Then he must suggest to the clan leader in the future that the clan members who come here in the early stage should have the cultivation of the foundation building period and have a skill. It is easier to take root and develop here, and he feels that not too many people can come in the early stage, and it is best to come 5 to 10 people first. Chen Ziya and the other two were also surprised by the prices here, but for them, the impact was not too big. After all, the 3 of them had a skill. And they have the support of the sect. So as long as they are given some time to adapt and support their own cultivation, there will be no big problems. During the time to understand the prices in the afternoon, Lin Changqing deliberately guided them to the south gate of Lin City. Now a few hours have passed, and they are already in the area of the south gate. Moreover, it was almost dark at this time, so Lin Changqing said, "Sisters, let's do this for today. Let's go to the hotel in front and see if there are any suitable rooms to solve the accommodation problem first. Moreover, we should be near the south gate now, and it should be convenient when we meet the day after tomorrow." As soon as this was said, they immediately got the approval of several of them, and then entered the hotel. After asking, they opened 2 suites in total. Sure enough, even the price of accommodation here is more than twice as expensive as that in Qinghai, but there is no way, the market here is like this, so they can only follow the local customs. After the hotel guy who led them left, they settled down in a room with 2 people. Needless to say, he must be in a suite with Chen Ziya. After the initial settlement, the ban on the suite door was activated, and then the 4 of them went out, and after having a meal at the Ling Changqing they had just seen, they returned to the hotel. Fortunately, the spiritual food here is similar to that in Qinghai, and the few people are not used to it, but the price is much more expensive. The 4 people are now gathered here at Chen Ziya, drinking spiritual tea and chatting. Today, they not only understand the price level here, they also heard some relevant news. For example, because Lin City is so big, there are actually 4 street stalls here, one in the east, west, south and north. It took them several hours to walk from the east to the south. Just from this point, you can know how big this place is. It is estimated that if you walk from the east to the west, it may take almost a whole day. So you can imagine how big Lin City is. And he saw 2 gambling stone shops along the way, and the scale seemed to be not small. There is also the most famous life and death stage, which is in the center of the city. As long as someone starts a life and death fight, many monks will soon gather around the life and death stage to watch the excitement. Moreover, there is no garrison here, but it has become the city lord's mansion, and there are also black armored soldiers guarding the city. Today, they have encountered several black armored soldiers patrolling on the street. So generally, no monks dare to fight directly in Lin City, or just quarrel with their mouths, or go out of the city to compete. Or they could go directly to the center of the city, fight a life and death battle on the life and death stage, and settle their grudges. So although the monks here are very tough, they are not as chaotic as they imagined, but very orderly. Several people drank spiritual tea and exchanged their feelings about Lin City. After chatting for a long time and drinking several pots of Qinghai tea, Huyana and the others said goodbye and left. They agreed to go together tomorrow to see the street stalls in the south. After Lin Changqing and Chen Ziya explained a few words, they also returned to their rooms. It was still the old rules. He carefully checked the room twice with his eyes and spiritual sense to confirm that there was no problem, and then arranged the small 5-element maze array. He went directly into the inner space. There was no way. He hadn't come in for more than 5 months. He was eager to know what the inner space looked like now. As soon as he entered, he immediately flew into the air on his sword. He saw that the area inside the inner space was indeed much larger than when he left last time. In the past, the inner space was more than 9,000 mu in area. Now Lin Changqing estimated that it should be about 16,000 mu. Although it did not double in size, it was indeed much larger at a glance. There were also many spiritual medicines and plants, as well as flowers and plants. It seemed that Su Miniang and Zhao Liaoyu had done a lot of things during this period. At this time, his spiritual pets, the 3-color deer, and Su Miniang and Zhao Liaoyu had also discovered him. They were all rushing to his location. The first to arrive were the 4 second-level 3-color deer, because they were so excited. After discovering him, they rushed over directly using the wind escape technique, followed by the 3 little deer, and finally Su Miniang and the others. Even the queen bee, who should have sensed Lin Changqing, flew over to join in the fun. At this time, the 7 3-color deer had surrounded Lin Changqing tightly, and they kept calling him Yo-Yo. Lu Xiaoling and the youngest Lu Xiaoman were still trying to get into his arms. They hadn't seen him for a long time, and the deer were so enthusiastic. He was in a panic. After feeding them the soul-nourishing pill, he touched this one and that one. In addition, a large queen bee was buzzing around, which made Su Miniang and Zhao Liaoyu laugh. It took a lot of time to finally appease the 7 3-color deer, and they also made soul-nourishing pills for the queen bee to turn into water. Only then did they have time to look around. Su Miniang and Zhao Liaoyu saw that Lin Changqing was finally free. Then they stepped forward and greeted him respectfully. Your subordinate has seen the master, your subordinate has seen the master. Thank you, master. I have successfully built my foundation. I will definitely repay your kindness in the future. If you need any tasks, please let me complete them. After seeing the situation in the inner space and his deer just now, Lin Changqing is in a really good mood now. At this time, he heard Zhao Liaoyu express her loyalty to him again, and his mood became even better. So he nodded and said with a smile, Zhao Liaoyu, I understand what you mean. However, there is no task for you now. But you two should take advantage of the time now and continue to work hard to improve your cultivation, so that when I really need you in the future, you will be useless. Chapter 416, Golden Fish and Pointed Fish. Su Miniang and Zhao Liaoyu talked to each other, and quickly replied, Subordinates will remember the master's instructions. Lin Changqing nodded and continued, That's good. If you run out of cultivation resources, remember to tell me, and I will give you some more when the time comes. Now, can one of you tell me about the changes in the inner space in the past few months? The two looked at each other, and then Su Miniang said, Master, I know this more clearly, let me tell you. Lin Changqing nodded, motioning her to continue. Su Miniang organized her words and said, After the last time the master left, the inner space began to expand. It lasted for a while, and after stopping, after detailed measurements by my subordinates, there should be an area of 15,800 acres in the inner space. And according to the master's instructions, we tried to increase the utilization rate of the land here, so we not only planted a lot of spiritual medicines and spiritual plants. We also spread all the collected flower seeds, so the master can see flowers and plants in many places except the flower field. And the most important thing is that we have expanded the planting area of 100-year-old Hugo trees. Now all added up, it is estimated that there are about 500 acres. Hugo trees, big and small, have been calculated, and there are more than 3,000 trees. Now every 2 or 3 days, there will be Hugo mature, ensuring a steady supply of Hugo. There is also Hugo wine brewed by the master, which is now about 100 to 200 kilograms. There are also the remaining 100-year-old Hugo, which have been preserved. There are about 1,400 pieces in the storage room. Hearing this, Lin Changqing was really satisfied, especially the 500 acres Hugo forest, with a total of more than 3,000 trees. He felt very happy just by listening to it. So Lin Changqing was already smiling at this time. He couldn't help but nodded and praised, You did a very good job, especially expanding the Hugo trees to more than 500 acres. It is more in line with our current needs. It's really good and very well done. If you have any ideas that are beneficial to our development in the future, you can tell me. If the implementation effect is good, I will give appropriate rewards. Now Lin Changqing has promoted another 36 purple crystal scorpions. Although they are placed with Chen Ziyi to protect her, they are still his spiritual pets and should be treated equally. Therefore, the demand for the 100-year Zhu fruit has increased a lot. Su Miniang and Zhao Linyu have done very well in this matter. Lin Changqing's mind. The two people listened to what Lin Changqing said and agreed. At this time, Zhao Linyu said, "Master, you left 2 strings of fish eggs last time. They have been hatched 2 or 3 months ago. The 2 strings belong to different species. But I don't know these 2 spirit fish. One of them has a pointy head, so I named them pointed fish. There are more than 240 of them. The other spirit fish has golden scales on its body, so I call them golden fish. There are more than 180 of them. But I don't know how to feed them, so I just harvest some alfalfa every once in a while, chop it up and sprinkle it on them. Now the 2 fish are as big as a palm. Do you want to go and take a look?" Hearing her say this, Lin Changqing really wanted to go and take a look, so he nodded and motioned Zhao Linyu to take him there. He didn't expect to go to the pond he had made before, but to a more enclosed place. He didn't know why the 2 of them ran so far and dug 2 separate large ponds. At this time, Zhao Linyu may have seen Lin Changqing's thoughts, so she explained, "After all, these spiritual fish have no contracts, and we don't know if they will run out in the future. If they run out and harm the spiritual medicine and spiritual plants planted over there, it will be troublesome. So we discussed it and finally chose this relatively far place to dig these 2 ponds separately. Of course, this separate feeding also prevents the 2 spiritual fish from attacking each other, so as not to cause unnecessary losses." Lin Changqing listened, nodded and praised, "Very good, you are very thoughtful. However, I don't know how to feed these spiritual fish. I can only see if there is any opportunity in the future to find relevant information or books." The 2 people were very happy to hear Lin Changqing's praise. At this time, Zhao Linyu sprinkled some cut alfalfa fragments in the storage bag and sprinkled some in the 2 ponds. So the 2 spiritual fish emerged one after another, competing for these foods. Lin Changqing looked carefully at both sides and found that the 2 names Zhao Linyu gave were quite vivid. But he found that both spirit fish had teeth, and he couldn't help asking, "Have you tried to feed them some monster meat?" Su Meinyang and Zhao Linyu couldn't help looking at each other, and finally Zhao Linyu said, "Master, we don't have much monster meat left. We have always eaten it ourselves, and don't we raise these spirit fish for food? If we feed them with monster meat, wouldn't it be a bit of a loss? Isn't the cost of investment too high? And don't you see, they are not too big now, but the alfalfa fragments they eat are constantly increasing. So I think it's really unnecessary to use monster meat. Anyway, we have expanded alfalfa by several hundred acres, which is enough to supply here." Lin Changqing listened and thought it made sense, but when he thought about the monster meat harvested in the past few months, he had filled several large storage bags. And there were still many abandoned by Lin Changqing, so he took out a large piece of monster meat from a storage bag, cut off a part directly, and threw a little into the ponds on both sides. Sure enough, the spirit fish that were eating alfalfa rushed towards the monster meat. After a while, all the monster meat thrown down by both sides disappeared. Seeing this, the 3 people knew that these spirit fish were definitely meat eaters. It was indeed a wise decision not to raise them together. After looking at the 2 kinds of spirit fish, Lin Changqing took them back to the yard. The monster meat harvested in the past few months and some materials that could be used for refining were placed in the storage room. He gave some of the harvested materials to Huyana for practice, and of course he kept some for himself. The rest are all here. Chapter 417, Phoenix Tail Homophone Conch. He also asked Su Miniang to put all the red fruit wine in a wine pot for him. He wanted to take it all away. He only gave them 2 people a pound each to taste it. He didn't blame them for taking care of the red fruit tree for Lin Changqing and brewing red fruit wine, but he didn't taste it. He went to the storage room again and took out 3 boxes of green jade tea, and then he climbed the tree to pick some spiritual peaches and exquisite fruits. Then he told Su Miniang and the 2 of them a few words and left the inner space. The main reason was that he had just wasted a lot of time playing with a deer, and he also needed to reserve some time for himself to practice. And he was also afraid that Chen Ziyi would come suddenly later, and if she couldn't find him, she would definitely be anxious. Fortunately, when he returned to the room, it was quiet inside and outside, proving that no one came to find him, so he was relieved. But he didn't dare to waste time anymore. He took out the Wunian jade mat from the storage bag, put it under his butt, and then began to practice formally. After he finished all the training, Chen Ziya came over after a while, and then Lin Changqing's favorite thing happened next. It was the two of them practicing the Yin-Yang Harmony Sutra together, and each practice lasted for more than an hour, which brought a lot of benefits to both parties. The next day, after several people completed the basic training, they met up with Chen Ziya. Because this place is really too big, it is estimated that it will take about an hour for them to walk from here to the South Gate Street Square. So they didn't waste any more time. After the four people met up, they immediately left the hotel and walked directly to the street square that they had already inquired about yesterday. Not to mention, although they set out relatively early, they had seen a lot of cultivators on the road. And many of them are foundation building cultivators, but cultivators in the key refining stage are rarely seen. This proves that it is difficult for small cultivators in the key refining stage in this place to earn enough resources for training here. That's why these cultivators in the key refining stage are rarely seen. After all, if you go out to sea to hunt monsters, it's too common to encounter second-level monsters. Therefore, the young monks in the key training period are not suitable for sea hunting monsters, and it is difficult for them to take root and survive here. If there is someone to take care of them here, they can help the team or take charge of logistics work, such as setting up stalls to deal with spoils. It was almost an hour later when they arrived at the street stall square of the South Gate. But when they got there, they were really shocked. The people setting up stalls and visiting the street stalls were really densely packed. It was estimated that there were already 5,000 or 6,000 people here at this time, and there were more than 1,000 stalls on the ground. In addition, there were many monks rushing here. The scale was really too large, larger than any street stall square they had seen before. Several people were already excited, and even a little impatient, and immediately plunged in. It was still the same rule as before. Chen Ziya and the other three walked in front, and Lin Changqing followed behind them and watched. However, after visiting 70 or 80 stalls, Lin Changqing realized that these things were all materials from sea monsters. Blood, meat, tendons, bones, skin, more than 90% of these things are these things, mainly materials from second-level monsters, and occasionally third-level, or even fourth-level materials can be seen. But these things are not very useful to Lin Changqing, except that Uyana is very interested and bought a lot of them, so he is still quite disappointed. And at this time, he also realized that this Linian city has no special products. After all, this is a city that hunts monsters in exchange for resources. If there are any special products, it is probably these monster materials, and he just heard that the prices are not too expensive. There are so many people here, there should be many people who buy these materials at low prices here, and then transport them to other places to sell them and make some profit. No wonder there are so many people here, it should have formed a business, but fortunately, there are occasionally some other things. Like water-attributed spiritual medicines, spiritual herbs, various colorful shellfish, pearls of different colors, etc. They all have their own uses, but Chen Ziya and the other three were very excited and were particularly interested in these shells and pearls. Everyone bought a lot, and seeing that they were so excited, Lin Changqing followed them. Although he spent a lot of spiritual stones, he didn't want to be the bad guy at this time. He himself also harvested dozens of water-attributed spiritual medicines. He didn't have much hope for other gains. But things are unpredictable. You give up, and it suddenly appears again. Just after they walked around for 2 hours, he finally saw 2 dark blue halos on a display. This was a large basin full of water, with 5 pairs of very beautiful conchs in it. What's more interesting is that 2 by 2 are very distinct. The 2 halos were emitted by the slightly larger pair. Lin Changqing studied it for a while, but he didn't understand what these conchs were used for. So he asked directly, "Boss, what special functions do these beautiful conchs in your basin have?" The stall owner took a look at Lin Changqing and the others, and immediately confirmed that they were not cultivators who lived in Linian City, nor were they people who came to ask questions knowingly and causing trouble. It should be that business came to the door, and he immediately introduced enthusiastically, "Dao have good eyes. These are precious phoenix tail homophonic conchs, which can transmit sound over long distances." Hearing the boss's introduction, the 4 people immediately became interested. Lin Changqing knew that this thing was precious. There are also sound transmission talismans in the world of immortal cultivation. The first level sound transmission talisman can only transmit sound within 10 miles, the second level can reach 100 miles, the third level can reach 1,000 miles, and the fourth level can reach 10,000 miles. However, these sound transmission talismans are not cheap, and they may also expose the location of the cultivator. This kind of sound transmission talisman can only be bought with a dozen spirit stones of the first level. A second level sound transmission talisman requires 200 spirit stones, which means that 1/10 of a second level low-grade spirit tool is needed for one sound transmission. Not to mention that the third and fourth level ones are definitely more expensive, and of course they need to be used more carefully. So if it is not absolutely necessary, few people will use the sound transmission sound casually, and it is really burning spirit stones. Now there is actually this kind of phoenix tail homophonic conch that can transmit sound over a long distance, so I must buy it. Chapter 418 Blatant. However, before buying, they had to ask clearly, so they continued to ask, how far can it be transmitted? Are there any restrictions? This time the boss confirmed that there really knew nothing and must be newcomers here, so he was more enthusiastic. Pointing to the pair of conchs that Lin Changqing liked, he introduced them. This is a third-level phoenix tail conch, which can transmit sound within 10,000 miles. The remaining 4 pairs are all second-level phoenix tail conchs, which can transmit sound within 1,000 miles. And there is no limit, as long as the 2 conchs are in the same space. At this time, Chen Ziya couldn't help asking, then how do they transmit sound? I see that they are all alive. Do they have to be alive to transmit sound? The boss glanced at her, and then explained, look at these special natural textures on their bodies. Each pair is exactly the same. Someone has studied and confirmed that they use these natural textures to achieve the effect of transmitting sound. So when you use them, you must be careful not to damage the texture on the shell, otherwise the sound will not be transmitted. As for their life or death, it is not too important, just because the conchs do not have much attack power. That's why they have been kept and not killed. If you want to use them conveniently, you can kill them. Just be careful when killing them, don't damage the texture on the shell. It is also very simple to use. Just inject mana into the conch, and when you hear the slight sound of the waves, you can speak into it. As long as the other one is within the receiving range, you will definitely be able to hear what is said on the other side. Hearing this, several people found it very interesting and wonderful, and they all felt that they should buy it. Lin Changqing had the same idea, so he asked directly, how much do these phoenix tail conchs cost? Boss, you have to think it over. We don't want them if they are too expensive. If the price is right, we can buy them all. The boss didn't expect to meet such a big customer today, so he thought about it for a while before saying, a pair of second-level conchs costs 15,000 spirit stones. A pair of third-level conchs costs 120,000 spirit stones. 5 pairs have a total of 180,000 spirit stones. If you really buy them all, can I give you a discount of 10,000 spirit stones? The 4 people were shocked when they heard it. They knew that this thing must be expensive, but they didn't expect it to be so expensive. After thinking for a while, Lin Changqing said, Boss, why is it so expensive? Make it cheaper. We really want to buy it, but we can't afford it if you offer such a high price. The boss looked at them and said, then I'll make it 10,000 cheaper, 160,000 lower grade spirit stones, and give you all 5 pairs. The 4 people looked at each other and felt that it was still too expensive, so the 3 female cultivators immediately stepped in. The 2 sides bargained for a long time, and finally both the buyer and the seller agreed to the deal at 140,000 lower grade spirit stones. After the price was determined, Lin Changqing took out 140,000 spirit stones to buy it. Because the amount of their transaction was not small, if they added tens of thousands of spirit stones, they could buy a purple mansion Taoism pill, so it still attracted the attention of many cultivators around. Especially some people with intentions. And Lin Changqing and his men were all strangers, and their cultivation was not high. It was estimated that someone was about to start to attack them at this time. For this situation, Lin Changqing was the most experienced and knew that he could not stay here any longer. So he used a spirit beast bag to collect several pairs of phoenix tail conchs, and then talked to them, and then the 4 of them were ready to leave. Unexpectedly, the boss saw their situation and actually said, don't worry, fellow Taoists. If someone specifically provokes you, don't be fooled. You can summon the black armored soldiers patrolling around and tell them the situation. Don't promise others here casually, and go on a life and death stage, so that nothing big will happen. Unexpectedly, the boss would actually open his mouth to warn them. After listening to it, several people thanked the boss seriously and then left. Not long after leaving the street stall square, there were really 7 or 8 people who followed them blatantly, without much concealment, and followed behind the 4 of them. After walking for a distance, they got closer and closer, and actually wanted to come over and bump into Lin Changqing. So he simply pulled Chen Ziya and the other 3, stood on the street and didn't move, and then looked at them steadily. Those people were also very experienced, but they didn't expect Lin Changqing to simply not leave. Fortunately, they were stunned for a moment, and after they reacted, they also stood aside and watched the 4 of them, and also did not leave. Lin Changqing and the other 4 frowned. They did not expect these people to be so rampant. This was almost as blatant as brazenness. Fortunately, he had carefully observed yesterday. About half an hour, there must be a patrol of the black armored army monks passing by at about a certain time. So he said to Chen Ziya and the other 3, "We will not leave. Let's wait here for the black armored army patrol to pass by. Tell them the situation and see how they will deal with it." After hearing this, the group of people behind knew that they might not be able to succeed this time. At first, they thought that they were new here and they definitely did not know these rules. Unexpectedly, these few people actually knew to find the patrol monks of the black armored army, so one of them with the highest cultivation should be the leader. After looking at them, he said, "Let's go, there is no hope." Then he led the people away directly, leaving very cleanly and neatly, without any dragging. In fact, the cultivation levels of these 8 people ranged from the early stage of the foundation building period to the late stage of the foundation building period, but in Lin Changqing's eyes, they were really nothing. Even if these 8 people came together, Lin Changqing could kill them. In his eyes, these people were just 8 bugs. However, they had just arrived, and he didn't want to cause too much trouble now. But just now he almost couldn't help it, thinking of pushing a boat with a current, and promised them to go to the life and death stage and kill these bugs. After those people left, Zhao Mingxia said, "These 8 people should have come here specifically to cause trouble, probably just to provoke us to go to the life and death stage. This is too blatant. How could the city lord of Lin City allow these people to exist? These pests should have been cleaned up long ago." Hu Yana shook her head and said, "These people should be very familiar with the regulations here. If they don't violate them, Lin City can't do anything to them." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 419 Failed Fishing Operation. Lin Changqing nodded and said, "In fact, those people only bullied those monks who had just arrived and didn't know the situation. It was a skirting of the rules of Lin City. If they really faced a patrolling black armored army, those people would probably be skinned alive." Hu Yana also nodded and continued, "But this time I really learned a lot. No wonder the Jindans Henrin of the sect had to give special instructions not to agree to go to the life and death stage just because someone provoked them. At that time, not only would all the spiritual objects on their bodies be lost, but they would also have to pay with their lives. This is really disgusting." Lin Changqing also felt a little unhappy, but now he should go back to the hotel first. He also regretted a little that if he was alone just now and had a hidden spirit mask on his face. In that case, he could act recklessly and absolutely guarantee that all these people would be left on the life and death stage. No one said anything, so he took Chen Ziya and the other 3 and returned to the hotel along the original route. The 4 of them went to Chen Ziya's room in tacit understanding. Lin Changqing took out 5 pairs of phoenix tail conchs from the spirit beast bag. Then he took the 3rd level pair in his hand and gave one to Chen Ziya. He directly injected mana into the one in his hand. After hearing the slight sound of the waves, he spoke to the conch. At this time, a magical scene appeared. The conch in Chen Ziya's hand immediately flashed a faint blue light, and then Lin Changqing's voice came out from it. Seeing such a fun thing, Hu Yana and Zhao Liu also took a pair of conchs and played with them. This thing is really convenient, but even the 3rd level phoenix tail conch can only transmit sound within 10,000 miles. This range is really too small for the vast and boundless world of cultivation. If the sound transmission range can be 100 or 1,000 times larger, it would be even better. Suddenly, Lin Changqing had an idea. Should he take 2 pairs and raise them for a try? Every once in a while, feed them some Beihuzuhan liquor to improve their grade. Anyway, these phoenix-tail homophone snails don't have any other abilities, so there's no need to focus too much on preserving their potential. As long as they can be upgraded, the range of sound transmission will naturally increase. The more he thought about it, the more it made sense, so he decided to do it. But now there are only 5 pairs, and they have to be divided between Huyana and Zhao Liao, so there will be even fewer left. So he decided to go out again later to see if he could collect as many homophone snails as possible. These things are really very practical, and they will be even more useful when they are brought back to the family in the future. But before that, he had to divide these homophone snails. After thinking about it for a while, he gave Huyana and Zhao Liao each a pair of second-level homophone snails. As for the pair of third-level homophone snails, he left one in Chen Ziya's hand, so that the 2 of them could contact each other at any time within 1,000 miles. Huyana and Zhao Liao both liked it very much and wanted to give Lin Changqing spiritual power, but he refused them all. After the 4 of them drank a pot of spiritual tea, they went back to rest. Lin Changqing said something to Chen Ziya and returned to his room. But he didn't stay in there for long. He changed his clothes, put on the hidden spirit mask, and quietly left the hotel. In the morning, when he took his 3 junior sisters to the street stall square, several people walked and looked at it, and the speed was not fast. This time he was alone, and in order to save time, he hurried to the street stall square. It only took half an hour to get there this time. When he came here, his goal was very clear, which was to find and buy phoenix tail conchs of various levels. At this time, there were not as many stalls as in the morning, but it didn't matter. He immediately took the time to look. At a glance, as long as there were no halo items, no spiritual medicines, spiritual herbs, and no conchs on the stalls, he would directly look at the next one. So the speed was still very fast. It took nearly 2 hours for Lin Changqing to finally finish looking at all the stalls. The harvest was quite good. There were 25 pairs of first-level homophone snails scattered around, and each pair cost about 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. There were very few second-level homophone snails, and only 4 pairs were found in total, and each pair cost about 12,000 spirit stones. But this time, there was no third-level homophone snails at all. It seems that this thing is really rare. No wonder the street stall owner said that it was precious. All these homophone snails were collected from various stalls, and the spirit stones paid each time were not too much. It was not so eye-catching, so until leaving the street stall square, no one followed to cause trouble. This made Lin Changqing quite disappointed. He had vaguely thought of luring those people to find him, but he didn't expect that no one would take the bait. It was a waste of his preparations, but after thinking about it for a while, he realized that it might be his own fault. He had just told those people that he was going to find the patrolling black armored soldiers. How could those stink bugs dare to stay around the street stall square? They must have run away long ago. It was really speechless. He had wasted so much time thinking about it. However, now was not the time to think about it. He planned to take advantage of the time he still had, and the 3 junior sisters were not with him. This was a rare opportunity. So he planned to stop by the gambling stone room to take a look. On the way here, he had already seen a very large gambling stone shop and had been paying attention to it. It took him a quarter of an hour to rush to the gambling stone shop. When he stepped into the door, he saw that the space inside was really very large. At a glance, there were many people picking raw stones inside. However, these were not what Lin Changqing cared about. This time, what caught his eyes directly were hundreds of colorful, bright and dark halos. He was already inexplicably excited in his heart. He waved to the shop assistant who came up to him, indicating that he didn't need to bother. He went in immediately. After a rough walk inside, Lin Changqing had an idea. There were a total of 15 raw stones emitting bright halos. Excluding 8 of them, which were relatively small, there were 7 relatively large high-quality raw stones left. Among these 7 rough stones, the smallest one was as big as 2 or 3 heads, and the largest one was close to the size of the giant. Lin Changqing suppressed his excitement and pretended to study the 7 rough stones. Then he put them into 2 piles. As for why he put them into 2 piles, it was because there were 2 very large rough stones among the 7. Chapter 420, The Possibility of Achieving Perfection in Foundation Building. Lin Changqing couldn't do it by himself, And of course he didn't want to appear too high profile, so he had to make 2 piles. He called a shop assistant and asked him to help find the boss or the shopkeeper to come over to settle the bill. After a while, a fat middle-aged foundation building monk was brought in. Lin Changqing didn't care whether he was the boss or the shopkeeper, as long as he could make the decision. After the middle-aged monk saw the raw stones he chose, he knew that this was a big customer and didn't dare to neglect him. So the 2 of them bargained back and forth. The middle-aged monk wanted 120,000 spirit stones, and Lin Changqing returned 80,000. The 2 sides entangled back and forth for a long time, and finally the deal was 180,000 spirit stones. To be honest, this price was much more expensive than he expected. But there was no way, he didn't want to drag it out for too long, for fear that something unexpected would happen, so this price was a little bit of a loss. After paying the spirit stones, with the help of the shop assistant and the middle-aged monk, he put all 7 high-quality raw stones into the storage bag. He was completely relieved, and only then did he feel like jokingly saying, "Wow. I spent a lot of spiritual stones here this time. And the price is not cheap. Can you give me a gift? It doesn't have to be too big, just the size of my head, but let me choose it myself." The middle-aged monk heard this and knew that he had indeed made a lot of money from the price just now. In order to maintain such a big customer, it was nothing to give 1 or 2 small raw stones. So he smiled and said generously, "No problem, I'll give you 2. Just come to me next time if you want to buy raw stones. Of course, if you have friends who like to gamble on raw stones, you can also bring them here. As long as you buy them here, I can give you half of the commission." How about it? Lin Changqing was happy to hear this and quickly agreed. This time he picked up 2 top-quality small raw stones for free, so he must have agreed. Anyway, I don't know when I will come next time. Just agree to him first. Then he picked 2 more free raw stones that didn't require spirit stones. After rejecting the boss's suggestion to cut the stones for free, he left the gambling stone shop and walked towards the hotel. He was in a really good mood now. It was estimated that the 9 high-quality raw stones he had just bought in his storage bag might have been close to all his previous gains. This time, the inner space would definitely increase a lot of land area. It was a pity that there was a shortage of manpower, and many places were wasted, but these problems would be gradually solved in the future. And if there were always such gains, Lin Changqing's promotion to the 4th level would not be so far away. If he really promoted to the 4th level, the mana that was fed back alone would be estimated to allow him to upgrade his cultivation by several levels at least. In addition, with a Jiazi trial as a foundation, he might rush to the late stage of foundation building, or even the great perfection of foundation building. That would really make him the person with the highest cultivation in the family. He was very excited when he thought about it, so he decided to strike while the iron was hot and find an opportunity tomorrow to go to other gambling stone shops to take a look. Try your best to help Lin Changqing get more resources back so that it can be promoted to the 4th level as soon as possible. This will be good for everyone. After returning to the hotel, the sky was completely dark, but Lin Changqing was not going to go out again today. He returned to his room, changed back into his morning clothes, and put away the hidden spirit mask. After checking that there was no problem in the room, he activated the prohibition and the magic circle and entered the inner space directly. He wanted to give these top-grade raw stones to Lin Changqing as soon as possible. After entering, he immediately ran to the edge of the deep pit and poured everything down. Soon, he received the feedback from Lin Changqing in his heart. All of them were waves of joy. Lin Changqing was very happy with it. Lin Changqing's expression of emotions was much better than before. It proved that continuing to absorb the 3rd level soul fruit for it still had a relatively significant effect, and it also proved that nothing was wasted. He comforted the deer who rushed to his side, and told Su Miniang and Zhao Mingsha that the inner space would soon expand a lot, and let them arrange it themselves. Then he exited the inner space, returned to his room, and made himself a pot of JT. Today's harvest was too great, and until now, he has not been able to calm his emotions well. However, no matter what, one's own cultivation is the foundation of everything, so cultivation cannot be put down. So he took out the Wunian jade mat from the storage bag, put it under his buttocks, and began various formal cultivations. When Chen Ziya came over, it was already a few hours later, and then it was time to practice the Yin and Yang Harmony Sutra, which they both liked. Finally, after everything was calm, Chen Ziya lay in his arms contentedly, touched his face and asked, "Brother Qing, Did you go out again in the afternoon? No one responded when I went to find you. Did you go out to cause trouble for those people? We will leave here the day after tomorrow. Don't go on the life and death stage, okay?" When Lin Changqing heard this, it turned out that the person next to him understood his intentions and actually guessed that he went out to lure those people to the life and death stage. But at this time, he couldn't admit it, but he didn't want to make her worry, so he said, "Who has nothing to do when they are full? I just went out to buy a few more pairs of conch shells, so that I can take them out as gifts for everyone when I go home. I didn't go out to cause trouble." "You really think too much about this," Chen Ziya nodded and continued, "If that's the case, it's the best. After all, we just came here and don't know anything. Although I know that you are strong in combat, who can guarantee that you won't meet more powerful people? So if you can avoid taking risks, don't go out and take risks casually, especially those pests who profit from the life and death stage. Among these people, there must be one or two people with particularly strong combat power, otherwise they will definitely not be able to do this business, and they will definitely be cleaned up by others long ago. Promise me, don't go on any life and death stage, okay?" Lin Changqing didn't expect that Chen Ziya could analyze such profound content. It really deserves to be a formation master who deduces formations every day. As long as you think carefully, you can always deduce something that others can't see, and he also thinks that Chen Ziya's speculation makes sense. However, he didn't think he would be in any danger. But since Chen Ziya said so, he would not do anything that would make her worry too much. Chapter 421, A Trip on the Stage of Life and Death. Let's continue to look for gambling stone shops tomorrow and find resources for Lin Changqing to get promoted as soon as possible. So Lin Changqing promised her seriously that he would never go out of his way to provoke them unless they came to him. There was no other way. You couldn't just swallow your anger and keep silent when others bullied you, right? Chen Ziya also understood what he meant. She was satisfied with such a guarantee, so she didn't say anything. Early the next morning, after Lin Changqing completed the basic practice of the 5 Elements Chaos Sutra, he put on the hidden spirit mask and left the hotel directly. Last night he had agreed with Chen Ziya not to go with him, and he would act alone today. Not long after he went out, he found a grocery store and bought some wine jugs and bottles and jars. After that, he asked the boss how many gambling stone shops there were in Linyan City. The grocery store owner told him that there were 4 and described the approximate address, excluding the one he had been to yesterday. There are 3 more, so Lin Changqing decided that the main task today is to visit all 3 gambling stone shops. Because the 4 gambling stone shops are distributed in the 4 corners of Linyan City, the distance is quite far. Therefore, he must hurry up as soon as possible. It is estimated that most of today's time will be spent on rushing and asking for directions. Not daring to waste time, he immediately rushed to the gambling stone shop at the East Gate. It happened that they should have passed by this one at the East Gate. So he already knew where it was, so the first target was the one at the East Gate. It's fast to rush alone. It only took half the time last time to find the place. It should have just opened not long ago, and there are not many customers inside. He is most satisfied with this point. After all, if there are fewer people should notice him, which can reduce a lot of trouble. The scale of this gambling stone shop at the East Gate is similar to that of the South Gate, but Lin Changqing only saw 70 or 80 halos of varying brightness inside. After a round of shopping, he confirmed that there were 11 high-quality raw stones. Only 5 of them were relatively large and he didn't want the rest that were too small. He asked the boss to come over, and after the 2 negotiated, they finally sold the stone for 65,000. After Lin Changqing paid for the stone and put away the 5 high-quality raw stones, he left the gambling stone shop at the East Gate. He quickly moved towards the North Gate. This time, I was not so smooth. It took 2 or 3 hours to find the gambling stone shop at the North Gate. After spending some effort, the harvest was about the same as that at the East Gate, but Lin Changqing was very satisfied. The harvest from the East Gate, North Gate, and the 2 gambling stone shops combined has exceeded that of the South Gate yesterday, so Lin Changqing is in a very good mood now. However, it was already afternoon at this time, and there was one last place to run, so he didn't dare to waste too much time. Fortunately, the last gambling stone shop at the West Gate was found without much effort, and the harvest was very huge. It can be said to be a huge surprise. Lin Changqing bought a piece of top-grade rough stone that was 3 times the size of the previous giant. together with 7 pieces of normal-sized rough stones. It cost Lin Changqing 225,000 spirit stones in total. This time, the whole gambling stone shop was boiling. Seeing this situation, Lin Changqing knew that there would be trouble this time, but there was no way. He could not give up such a large piece of top-grade rough stone. So even if he guessed this result, he had to buy it. In addition, he was wearing a hidden spirit mask and would leave here early tomorrow morning. Therefore, he would act so rashly and pay all the spirit stones as quickly as possible. With the help of several shop assistants, he put all the bought rough stones into the storage bag. He quickly left the gambling stone shop at the west gate, but there were 2 or 3 people following him. At this time, Lin Changqing didn't want to pay attention to them. However, sometimes the more you don't want to cause trouble, the more trouble you will have. He had just walked a few hundred meters, and when he passed an intersection, a cultivator came out from the front, back, left and right. They blocked him on the roadside. Such a blatant behavior made Lin Changqing laugh with anger, and the murderous intent in his heart surged. Especially one of them was the middle-aged cultivator who was the last one to order the retreat among the group of people yesterday. His cultivation was quite high, and he was in the late stage of foundation building. At this time, Lin Changqing did not speak, just watching what they wanted to do next. At this time, the middle-aged cultivator said, "You kid don't have eyes when you walk. You dare to bump into me, are you looking for trouble?" After hearing what he said, Lin Changqing couldn't help laughing anymore. These stinky bugs' talents can even say such words. This time Lin Changqing was not going to let them go. You followed his words and said, "Yes. I bumped into you specifically, what do you want?" Hearing Lin Changqing's answer, the 4 people surrounding him jumped at the same time. In their line of work, they still need basic eyesight. This person is obviously not afraid of them. If he is not the kind of young man who has just arrived in Linton City, then he must have something to rely on. So the middle-aged monk was somewhat doubtful and could not help but back out. But he still said, "Of course you have to apologize to me. And then compensate me with 20,000 spirit stones." At this time, Lin Changqing had already eaten him, but he still wanted to block his retreat. So he smiled and said, "Since you are such a softy, that's fine, as long as you give me 200,000 spirit stones, and then kneel down and apologize to me." Hearing Lin Changqing say this, the middle-aged monk's face turned red with anger, but the more this happened, the more he dared not follow Lin Changqing's routine. Pretending to be generous, he said, "I am a big shot and I won't argue with a junior like you. Forget it this time. Next time you walk with your eyes open, this is it." After saying that, he glanced at the other 3 accomplices and was about to retreat. However, how could Lin Changqing agree? The other 3 were fine, but if he really let the middle-aged monk leave, he would be unhappy. He immediately stepped forward and grabbed him, saying with a smile, "After bumping into me, you want to leave like this? How can it be so easy? You either compensate me with 200,000 spirit stones and kneel down to apologize to me, then I'll let it go. Or we'll go on the stage of life and death. Life and death will depend on how we act. Don't think of fooling me. Also, even if you find the patrolling black armored soldiers, I'm not afraid. I don't believe that they don't know who you are. So now you can only choose one of the 2, don't think of having other options." Chapter 422 Behind the Scenes. The middle-aged cultivator's face flushed red when he saw Lin Changqing was so aggressive and pressing forward step by step. He was a cultivator in the late stage of foundation building, but he was defeated by a young man who had just established his foundation. In addition, his subordinates were watching all around. If he was too soft, no one would listen to him in the future. Moreover, he did not believe that a young man who had just established his foundation could have any powerful means. At most, he would have some life-saving means at the bottom of the box. But he felt that Lin Changqing might be relying on his powerful background to dare to be so tough with him. He decided in his heart that at most, after killing him, he would find a place to hide for a while and come out after everything was calm. After making up his mind, he calmed down instead, looked at Lin Changqing and said, "Since you are pressing forward step by step, then let's go to the stage of life and death. Each of us relies on our own means, and life and death are also up to fate." Lin Changqing did not expect that this old guy would be so tough, but it was good this way. There was no need to waste too much of his time. He still had to rush back to the hotel to meet up with Chen Ziya and the others, so as not to worry them. That's the best. Let's not waste time, let's go to the life and death stage now. Lin Changqing spoke directly and decided. Then he dragged the middle-aged monk towards the center of the city. He was not so stupid, and of course he was afraid that the old man would slip away if he let go. Knowing that the two of them were going to the life and death stage, more and more monks followed them. When they finally arrived at the life and death stage, many monks had gathered around, and he didn't know why the news would spread so quickly, but at this time he couldn't care so much. When the two just arrived near the life and death stage, an administrator stationed at the life and death stage by Lin City came to them. He began to persuade them, "Do you two want to go on the life and death stage? Think about it carefully. You should know that only one person can come down alive after going on the life and death stage. So, if you don't have any irreconcilable grudges, there is really no need to go on the life and death stage." Lin Changqing said directly, "Thank you, fellow Taoist, no need to persuade me anymore. I believe you should know who this person next to me is, so you don't need to say anything more. We must go on the life and death stage today. Please take out the life and death contract for us to sign. Don't waste our time." The middle-aged monk also said, "Sorry to bother you, fellow Taoist Guo. You don't need to say so much, we all understand the plan. Please take out the life and death contract." The monk surnamed Guo, who was in charge of the life and death stage, also knew that at this point, neither of them would retreat, so he didn't say anything more. But it was his responsibility to say those words, so he had to say them. Now both parties have confirmed again that they want to go on the life and death stage, so after signing the life and death contract, he will have nothing to do. So he took out a roll of animal skin from the storage bag and unfolded it directly on the life and death stage. Lin Changqing scanned it with his spiritual sense, and it was a life and death contract. The content of the life and death contract was roughly that both parties came on stage to resolve their grievances, and life and death were their own responsibility, and everything had nothing to do with Lin City. Friends and relatives of both parties, teachers and sects, must not find trouble with the winning party and Lin City under any excuse. In fact, this is a disclaimer. The content of the contract made the relationship with Lin City very clean, but he knew it would definitely be like this. So he was about to sign his tall, rich and handsome name. Unexpectedly, the cultivator surnamed Guo said, "Chenghu, to use this life and death contract, each person needs to pay 500 low-grade spirit stones." After hearing this, Lin Changqing was stunned for a moment, but he quickly reacted and couldn't help sighing in his heart, "It's really a dead money." And the middle-aged cultivator, who is much more experienced than Lin Changqing, has already poured 500 spirit stones on the life and death stage. Then he made another mark of mana on the life and death contract, and a very special symbol immediately appeared on the life and death contract. In this way, the signing of the life and death contract was completed. Lin Changqing felt very lucky when he saw this. Fortunately, someone was demonstrating in front of him. Otherwise, he would be embarrassed on the spot if he picked up the pen to sign on it. On the contrary, this method of using the cultivator's own mana as a mark instead of a signature does not need to be afraid of being impersonated by others. The relatives and friends of the deceased will understand as long as they feel it. This contract was signed by the deceased himself, and it cannot be faked, and it cannot be blamed on others. So Lin Changqing also followed suit and poured 500 spirit stones on the life and death platform, and also left a mark of mana. Then the cultivator surnamed Guo took away the signed life and death contract and said, "Okay, you two have 2/4 of an hour to prepare now. Or if you have anything to say, you can tell me, and I will convey the message you left to the person you designated." Lin Changqing shook his head. He was absolutely sure, so he didn't want to reveal too much of his information. He had already decided that he must make a quick decision, and he was wearing a hidden spirit mask on his face, so he didn't have to worry about anything. He thought he could go to the life and death stage immediately, but he was stopped again. Then the cultivator surnamed Guo pointed around. Lin Changqing took a glance and realized that there was a group of people below who were actually starting the game, and many onlookers were now placing bets. His odds were actually 1-2, while the middle-aged cultivator's was 3-1. This was outrageous, and the odds were completely unequal. If he won, he could only get back 4 spirit stones. It seemed that the dealer was not optimistic about him. That's right, because he was only in the early stage of foundation building, while the other person was in the late stage of foundation building and was a frequent visitor to the life and death stage. Everyone knew how to choose, but Lin Changqing had an idea and felt that he could also bet. So he found a bet collector and asked, "Fellow Taoist, can I join in the betting?" The cultivator who was collecting bets was now eager for Lin Changqing to place a bet. After all, if he didn't place a bet, he would die on the stage and the things on his body would belong to the winner. So he nodded repeatedly and said, "Yes, yes, we welcome you to place a bet. But you can only bet on yourself to win, not on your opponent, understand?" Lin Changqing nodded, but was ready to place a heavy bet, but was a little worried that he couldn't afford it, so he continued to ask, "What if I bet more and you can't afford it?" The man was a little angry when he heard this, and couldn't help but roll his eyes at him. Then he explained, "This is the life and death stage of Lin City, and we are all the people of the Lord of Lin City. Even if you bet 10,000 top-grade spirit stones, as long as you have the ability to win, we will pay you every penny." Chapter 423, No Chance. At this time, Lin Changqing finally realized that Lin City was really powerful, and even the dying people were used. However, knowing that the dealer behind the scenes was the Lord of Lin City, he didn't want to place a heavy bet, and didn't want to cause unnecessary trouble for a little lingling stone. So in the end, he only bet 100,000 low-grade lingxi to buy his own win. After paying the lingxi, Lin Changqing got a special voucher. After winning, he can use this voucher to collect his bet. When he finished all this, the time was almost up, but he glanced at the people around the life and death stage. There was already a large circle of cultivators, and it was estimated that there should be at least 3,000 or 4,000 people, and there were still people around, rushing here. At this time, Lin Changqing had already consciously adjusted the thunder mana in his body and poured it into the thunder horn. Since he really built his foundation and possessed mana, he could basically exert most of the power of the thunder horn. So he mobilized the power of thunder and lightning, and with the help of Babe, he quickly generated 3 Jiangjin divine thunders in the thunder horn. That's right, 3 divine thunders, but this is already the limit of the thunder horn. It is necessary to wait until these 3 divine thunders are launched before injecting mana again to generate new Jiangjin divine thunders. But this is enough for the time being. The Jiangjin divine thunder generated by mana is at least 10 times more powerful than the divine thunder generated by spiritual energy. It can be regarded as the initial display of the reputation of the divine thunder. Using it on the foundation building cultivator is like using a butcher knife to kill a chicken. But he also saw that the middle-aged cultivator was already preparing at this time. After sticking 3 second-level defense talismans on himself, he also put a second-level top-grade shield spiritual weapon in his hand. Then he took out a set of 12 water attribute top-grade spiritual weapon flying swords, but these were not noticed by Lin Changqing. What he really cared about was a jade pendant tied around the waist of that person. He was really familiar with this thing. He had several of them, and although he had given 2 or 3 of them away to give away, this did not prevent him from recognizing this thing. This must be a top-grade defensive spiritual weapon. Combined with the talismans and shield spiritual weapons on his body, this defense is already very tight. So in addition to pretending to be bumbling, Lin Changqing pasted a few talismans on himself and took out a top-grade flying sword to paralyze his opponent. Fearing that he could not kill him with one blow, he slowly mobilized his magic power and generated a Jiangjin divine thunder in his own hand. But this divine thunder did not take shape immediately, and it is still between being formed and not yet formed. This is the result of his deliberate control. He was afraid that if the divine thunder was directly generated, the middle-aged cultivator on the opposite side would notice it in advance, so he deliberately controlled the divine thunder in this state. After Lin Changqing and the others were ready, the monk named Guo who was presiding over the life and death stage said, "The 2/4 of an hour of preparation time is up. If you two have nothing else to say, you can go up to the life and death stage now and settle all your grievances." Lin Changqing and the middle-aged monk looked at each other and saw the cold murderous intent in each other's eyes. However, neither of them spoke. They were very tacitly on the same side, and each of them went up to the life and death stage. In fact, the life and death stage is just a platform with a radius of 300 feet and chest height. After the 2 people went up, the life and death stage was immediately covered by a formation. This was to prevent a battle above from being too intense and accidentally injuring the monks watching below. However, the defensive barrier created by this formation is completely transparent, so everyone can see the situation inside. At this time, the life and death battle had already begun, and the distance of more than 200 to 300 feet was just right, so the Jiangjin divine thunder in his hand was immediately completely formed. Then he immediately locked onto the middle-aged monk and fired. He was not done yet. He wiped the storage bag on his waist with his hand and pretended to take out the thunder horn from the storage bag. He also locked onto it and fired 3 Jiangjing divine thunders. Boom, 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 4 consecutive thunders. The distance of 200 or 300 feet was reached in an instant. The middle-aged monk was about to use the flying sword to attack, but suddenly his consciousness sensed something different and immediately recognized it as thunder magic. He was immediately frightened and let out a scream that was extremely terrifying, and then tried his best to activate the top-grade defensive spiritual weapon in his hand. At the same time, he communicated with a top-grade defensive spiritual weapon hanging on his waist. He took the initiative to activate it and poured mana into this top-grade defensive spiritual weapon, hoping to withstand this wave of attacks and win a glimmer of life for himself. However, all his defenses were completely destroyed after encountering the Jiangjing Divine Thunder. All his defense measures barely blocked 2 Jiangjing Divine Thunders. The remaining 2 hit the middle-aged cultivator, and his body immediately broke into pieces, with his belongings and blood splattered everywhere. In fact, the last Jiangjing Divine Thunder did not hit the middle-aged cultivator, because he was already broken into pieces at that time. Instead, it passed through the blood mist and hit the formation barrier at the edge of the life and death stage. Although it did not break the barrier with one blow, it made the entire barrier full of cracks. You must know that this is a 3rd-level defense formation. Fortunately, after a while, the formation automatically repaired. At this time, the outside of the life and death stage was completely boiling, because the result was really beyond their expectations. They thought that Lin Changqing, a cultivator who had just entered the foundation building stage, should have some means, otherwise he would not dare to go to the life and death stage. It was just that they did not expect that the strength of the 2 sides would be so different. The winner was decided in an instant, and it was a cultivator in the early stage of foundation building who killed a cultivator in the late stage of foundation building with one blow, and the person who made the move was still a relatively rare thunder cultivator. However, what happened outside did not matter to Lin Changqing. Facing the bloody scene, he thought about it for a while. He decided to collect the spoils at the scene. After all, no matter how small the meat was, it was still meat. Besides, those people provoked Lin Changqing just for the spiritual objects on his body, right? In this case, they could not leave them behind, otherwise these things would be used by others in the end. It was just that there was blood and flesh everywhere, which was a little uncomfortable to look at. It was nothing to overcome it a little. After Lin Changqing collected all the spoils, the magic circle on the life and death stage disappeared. The cultivator named Guo, who was in charge of the life and death stage, said to Lin Changqing with a full smile, "Congratulations, fellow Taoist, you are so powerful." Chapter 424 Thunderdrum. Lin Changqing nodded and responded lightly, "Nothing, just luck." Then he ignored him. He didn't want to have too many interactions with Lin's people, so he simply dealt with it coldly. Seeing that someone was redeeming the prize below, he immediately took out his voucher, found the monkey had bet on just now, and exchanged 300,000 spiritual stones. Then he left the scene immediately. He knew that there must be many monks who were watching him now. So he couldn't go back to the hotel where Chen Ziya and the others were staying, otherwise his identity would be exposed. Therefore, although he was walking towards the south gate now, he didn't plan to meet up with Chen Ziya and the others. Instead, he decided to find a hotel near the south gate to stay first. There were still a few tails following him. But they had been following him for a while, and he was a little annoyed, so he simply stopped and turned around to look at them. Those people didn't expect that Lin Changqing would play out of the ordinary. They couldn't react for a while and stood there in a daze. Lin Changqing glanced at them and said lightly, "Who is still following me? Then I will invite him to the life and death stage." Everyone think about it carefully. At this time, a late foundation building cultivator behind him hurriedly explained, "This Taoist friend, you have completely misunderstood. Now those bugs in Lincoln City dare not provoke you again. Zhuang Hongfu, who died in your hands, is already considered a relatively powerful group of people. In the future, those people will never dare to appear in front of you without 8 or 9 layers of confidence. We are all teams going out to sea to hunt monsters. Seeing that you are very powerful, we will follow you and want to find an opportunity to talk to you. See if you can invite you to join our team and go out to sea to hunt monsters together. I don't have any bad ideas. Please don't misunderstand me." Several other cultivators behind him also hurriedly spoke to Chen Qing, fearing that Lin Changqing would misunderstand, and some even directly reported the name of the team and benefits. It seems that they should have a certain reputation in Linhuan City, hoping to attract Lin Changqing to join their team in this way. However, it was a pity that he had no intention of staying here at all. He was leaving tomorrow and did not want to cause any more trouble. Therefore, Lin Changqing expressed his refusal in a straightforward manner and then left. The people who had followed him were also very sensible and did not continue to follow him, but he was still worried. Just at this time, Lin Changqing saw a tall and eye-catching building, which was a shop of Wanbao Pavilion. With an idea, he felt that this was an opportunity, so he immediately stepped into the shop of Wanbao Pavilion. As soon as he entered, a female cultivator in the foundation building period came up to greet him and said, "Welcome to Wanbao Pavilion, please go to the 3rd floor for tea." Lin Changqing nodded, followed the female cultivator, and went up to a small box on the 3rd floor. After the maid brought the tea and left, the female monk said, "My surname is Wang. What do you need? Please tell me briefly. I'll see if there is anything in the pavilion and try to find it for you." This monk surnamed Wang from Wanbao Pavilion was very beautiful and gentle. Lin Changqing admired her. However, he took the opportunity to come in to buy thunder attribute spiritual objects and borrow the way, so he said directly, "I need some thunder attribute spiritual tools or thunder attribute spiritual objects. If there are any here, please help me prepare some. Spiritual stones are not a problem. I'm in a hurry and I have something else to do later, so please don't delay too long." "Sorry for bothering you." The female monk surnamed Wang was a little surprised when she heard this, but she didn't show it. Instead, she politely agreed and left to help Lin Changqing prepare the things he needed. Not long after, she came back with a relatively large tray with 4 thunder attribute spiritual tools on it. She knew that Lin Changqing was in a hurry, so she picked up one and introduced it directly. "This is a 2nd level medium grade spiritual weapon, the Thunder Snake Whip. It is made of the tendons and skin of a 2nd level thunder snake, and is worth 10,000 low-grade spiritual stones." When Lin Changqing heard this, he couldn't help but frown. This price was more than twice as expensive as the Kingian horn, but he just nodded and motioned for her to introduce the next spiritual weapon. Seeing that Lin Changqing did not explicitly say he wanted to buy it, she thought he didn't like it, so she picked up another one and introduced it. "This is a 2nd grade upper grade spiritual weapon, the Soul Controlling Beast Talisman. Sealed in it is the soul of a 3rd stage early stage golden infant beast. Because only the soul is sealed, its strength is equivalent to that of a 2nd stage late stage beast. The soul of the golden infant beast can emit Zhengjing divine thunder, but after every 3 thunderbolts, it needs some time to recover and recuperate. The length of the recuperation time depends on the density of the surrounding thunder attributed spiritual energy. Under normal conditions, it takes a month. Because this is a special spiritual weapon, the price will be a little more expensive. It requires 30,000 low-grade spiritual stones to buy it." Lin Changqing was more interested in this item. It was similar to the thunder horn, and Lin Changqing had already decided to buy it. So after taking it from the female monk surnamed Wang and playing with it for a while, she said, "I want this soul beast card." The female monk surnamed Wang was overjoyed when she heard this, as if she was encouraged. She picked up the next spiritual weapon and continued to introduce it. "This is a 2nd grade top grade spiritual weapon, the Thunder Drum. The drum body and drumstick are made of 2nd grade top grade thunder wood, and the drum skin is the belly of the howling sky roar. They are made together. To use this top grade spiritual weapon, you need to have relatively strong mana. Because every time you hammer it down, it will emit a chaotic thunder sound that expands in all directions. This is a group attack spell that does not distinguish between enemies and friends. Ordinary cultivators in the key refining stage are likely to be shocked to death after hearing 1 or 2 chaotic thunder sounds. It is estimated that cultivators in the early stage of the construction stage will not be able to hear many of them. The rest of the details will require fellow Taoists to spend some time to explore by themselves after purchasing it. Therefore, every hammer will consume a corresponding amount of mana. Cultivators with little mana cannot knock many hammers. Moreover, this top-grade spiritual weapon is also a special spiritual weapon, so it is quite expensive. It costs 55,000 spiritual stones to buy it. When Lin Changqing heard the price, his heart skipped a beat. It was ridiculously expensive. However, this spiritual weapon is also very good. He will definitely have a long period of time to venture out alone in the future, so he will not have to worry about accidentally hurting his accomplices by using this thing. Chapter 425 Another Magical Embryo. And it is also a special group attack spiritual weapon, which can be used to clean up some small fish with relatively low cultivation, and the effect should be extraordinary. So although the price is ridiculously expensive, he still decided to buy it, otherwise, he doesn't know if there will be such an opportunity next time. After nodding, he said, "This one is not bad, I want it, put it together first, and settle the bill together later." After hearing Lin Changqing personally confirm that this special spiritual weapon would also be purchased, she almost burst into joy. It's rare to meet a cultivator who needs a thunder attribute spiritual weapon, and he just said that spiritual stones are not a problem, so she has nothing to be polite about. Specially selected, these very expensive special spiritual weapons, unexpectedly, she really sold them. In this way, her performance task this month should be easily completed. He quickly suppressed his excitement, brought out his best state, then picked up the last spiritual tool and introduced it. This last one is not a thunder attribute spiritual tool, but a thunder attribute magic weapon embryo. Of course, you can also use it as a special second-grade top-grade spiritual tool. This thing has been stored here for a long time. There is no record of what material it is made of in the pavilion. We only know that its name is the 5 Elements Thunder Bottle. It is a magic weapon embryo that can store and absorb a large amount of thunder attribute mana, and can be converted into various divine thunders of the 5 elements at will. And even, after it is finished, find a place with abundant thunder attribute spiritual energy or dense thunder, and put this 5 elements thunder bottle there. Let it automatically absorb and collect thunder attribute mana. You can ignore it completely, and when you need it, you can take it out and use it directly. Hearing this, Lin Changqing was already very excited. Isn't this specially prepared for him? During this period of time, he has learned several other kinds of divine thunder, and he often takes them out to practice. It's just that his proficiency is far inferior to that of Zhengjing Divine Thunder and Qishu Yin Lei, and he himself is used to using Zhengjing Divine Thunder. Because he likes to see his opponent being torn into pieces by Zhengjing Divine Thunder, and dying in a way that cannot be dead. The most important thing is that doing so can reduce the danger to the minimum, ensuring that he will not capsize in the gutter easily. And at this time, he has also realized that this 5 elements thunder bottle can also be used as another killer in the future. After all, this thing is really too suitable for him, and the most important thing is that it also solves the problem that a single attribute of divine thunder is easily targeted and restrained by others. This magic weapon embryo is really suitable for him, and he tried his best to calm his excitement, and then said in a very calm tone, "Magic weapon embryo. The price won't be too expensive, right? If the price is too expensive, I won't consider it." Hearing this, the female cultivator surnamed Wang's heart jumped violently, and immediately gave up the idea of quoting the highest price, so as not to ruin the business. After a quick mental assessment, he said, "The 5 elements thunder bottle is, after all, a magic weapon embryo. And there is a high chance that it can be promoted to a magic weapon in the future. It is a different concept from ordinary top-grade spiritual tools, and there is no comparison. So it is normal that the price is a little higher. It costs 180,000 low-grade spirit stones to buy this magic weapon embryo." Although Lin Changqing had been mentally prepared early on, he still couldn't help but grit his teeth when he heard the offer. It was really too expensive. Even in this place, ordinary magic weapons only cost 100,000 spirit stones, and a little more would be enough to make the deal. 180,000 spirit stones can already buy a very excellent magic weapon, so he felt that the price offered by the female cultivator surnamed Wang was quite unreasonable. Therefore, he couldn't help but shook his head and said, "This price is too expensive. Although the magic weapon embryo is still very tempting to me. However, I have to reach the Purple Mansion stage at the earliest before I can use the magic weapon normally. Even if I am given a magic weapon now, I can't use it. And the function of the magic weapon embryo is almost the same as that of the top-grade spiritual weapon. I might as well buy a top-grade spiritual weapon to use, which can save a lot of spiritual stones. So either it's cheaper, the 4 spiritual weapons here are added together, and the transaction is 240,000 spiritual stones, or I go to other places to compare, and come back after thinking it over. After all, spending so many spiritual stones is enough to buy a Purple Mansion Twinkling pill, and it's more than enough. So I'm afraid I will regret it after I buy it." At this time, The female cultivator surnamed Wang was extremely embarrassed, but also a little bit fortunate. When I quoted the price just now, I gave a relatively high price, and there was still some room for operation. After careful consideration, she said, "The price you offer is too low. I can't agree to it, but I am willing to ask the shopkeeper on your behalf to see if he can agree." "Please wait a moment," Lin Changqing nodded. This situation was within his expectations, so he didn't say anything, but just signaled her to go back quickly. After a while, after the maid gave him tea twice, the female cultivator surnamed Wang came back. She said, "Congratulations, fellow Taoist. The shopkeeper has agreed. And he also gave you a hidden spirit mask." Hearing this, Lin Changqing was a little confused, but he thought about it and immediately understood it. The shopkeeper of Wanbao Pavilion should have guessed that he was the Lei Xiu who had destroyed the enemy with one blow on the life and death stage just now. He gave him this hidden spirit mask specifically because he guessed that he needed it, which was a kind of goodwill to him. However, no matter what his starting point is, as long as he doesn't provoke him, it will be fine. So he said, "Thank you, shopkeeper, and fellow Taoist Wang. Let's trade now." After that, he poured out 240,000 lower-level spirit stones from his storage bag, and then he did nothing. After waiting for a while, the female cultivator surnamed Wang couldn't help but say, "Spirit stones are right. Taoist, give me the VIP card, and I'll help you register the message record." Lin Changqing had already made up his mind not to take out the previous VIP card, so as not to expose his background, so he shook his head and pretended to be confused and said, "I don't have this thing. Where did I apply for it? Is it true that if there is no VIP card here, you can't buy these things?" The female cultivator surnamed Wang forced herself to resist the urge to glare at him. Although she knew that he must be pretending to be confused, she couldn't expose him. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.